Okay, it says we are live. Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart. I am joined by my co-host and good friend Brandon, and today we're going to be talking about Nintendo, as we usually do. The general topics, there's been a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 rumors, so we're going to be getting into that. That will be the focus for the evening, but we'll also be jumping into just our different ideas about Tears of the Kingdom DLC, which ways they can go. There's a lot of different ways they could go, obviously, like it's basically the ideas are limited to our creativity, but what Nintendo actually does, we shall see.
Might be two different things.
Yeah, and we should have played Pikmin 4 during this weekend so we could talk about it. I didn't have a chance to play the demo, so I can't really say anything except I want to play the game. But we'll probably talk a little bit about Pikmin 4 as well, and that is...
To clarify, I have played some of the demo.
Some of it.
So, I've played some. Like 30, 45 minutes.
That's more than me. So
that's true.
I just want to clarify, it's not out of a lack of excitement. It's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
I want to play through... I'm trying to marathon through each Pikmin game before release. I recently finished Pikmin 1. I'm about to start Pikmin 2. And then I'm going to beat that one and blitz through Pikmin 3. And then hopefully be right on time for Pikmin 4. So I didn't want to play the demo. But I did hear that your data does transfer over. It's, Nintendo's done this with a lot of their demos. It makes sense. So
yeah,
that will work out for people. I have heard it's pretty good. So if you want to take that for what it's worth, I heard it's pretty good. I mean, I guess since we're already talking about it, Brandon, tell me how you
jump into it.
Just jump into it while we wait people to roll in here. But how'd you feel about the demo?
I will say it controls, right off the bat, I noticed it controlled differently than the old games. Like, you have a pointer, but it's kind of like fixed distance from you. And as you go towards like different things, it kind of auto-targets onto them. And then you like click. So you have a lot less freedom, it seems. I don't know if in the full game you'll be able to change that. I did look for controls, but it just told me the controls, like there's no control scheme changes in the demo at least, so I don't know how that is, but it seems like they're doing this kind of like auto aim thing, which I'm not sure how I feel about because I haven't played around with it enough, but that is kind of the first thing I noticed as far as like gameplay goes. It's very interesting. I'm not sure how you'll feel about it. I'm not even sure how I'll feel about it.
I'm not that picky when it comes to Pikmin.
I do feel like a lot of the fun for Pikmin isn't really like aiming and pointing at things, and being like precise with your points. Like there are some like benefits to being precise with certain throws on certain enemies than like hitting targets, but it's not like a huge part of the game, I would say. Do you disagree?
Like just aiming around?
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of varies depending on which game you're playing, right? So like I just recently finished Pikmin 1, and the cursor is based off where you move, but actually I have to go back and play Pikmin 3. Like I don't remember exactly how the cursor controls work, but I remember, there were pointer controls, right? Like for when they even like changed around the pointer controls for Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Wii, that they added, like motion controls there. So, but when I played on Pikmin 3, I guess there was a better degree of accuracy. Like it was more clear where I was going to hit and land. But you can kind of figure it out based off how you play. So I'm maybe not a good person to ask, because whenever I play a game, right, I'm maybe not picky on the controls. I'm just like, oh, okay, so this is the tools that it's providing for me. I will figure out how to solve the problem regardless. That said, going back and playing the older Pikmin games, Pikmin 1 specifically, I was finding myself getting annoyed because a lot of Pikmin were really dumb, and I would like take I'll take like a large group of them, and then one or two of the stragglers will get stuck behind a rock, and I won't see them until it's too late, and then they die, right? But if you play with some of the more modern Pikmin games, the Pikmin are a little smarter. They don't get stuck as much. So, I mean, I think the series game by game has improved just in terms of AI with the Pikmin and just quality of life
Right.
updates and things like that. Because when I did play Pikmin 3, it did feel more intuitive to play. So, you know, I guess with Pikmin 4, they're giving you a few different options as to how you go about doing it, though.
It just seems to be more. I wouldn't say they're giving you options. It's just like they changed it back to a more like Pikmin 1 style. Except it's like Pikmin 1, but when you get like close to an object of importance, it locks on.
And you don't have the option to
So it
change
kind
it
of
in the
helps you a little bit.
options. You can't go into
Not
the
as far as I
options.
can tell.
Okay.
There's no uh, control schemes in the options. It just tells you what the controls are. Like it just gives you like a list. It's like, this is the button inputs. You can't change anything. Like, okay. One thing I will say as well is that the graphics in the demo are extremely impressive. They start you off on like an inside section, like inside a house, and it's really nice looking. Uh, it's probably one of the best looking Switch games, like right up there with like Metroid Prime Remastered. It looks absolutely fantastic.
I saw someone complaining about the draw distance.
Uh,
Yeah, so my first thought on that though, when I saw some people complaining about the draw distance, or not so much the draw distance itself, but the pop in. So
yeah,
for those that may not understand what that means, so when you can see environments off into the distance, there will be structures or just detail that you'll notice will just pop in, and you're like, oh, that wasn't there
right.
before. It just added it as I got a little closer. And so I saw someone point this out for like background elements in Pikmin 4. And my first thought was, well, at least you can see pop in Pikmin 4, because with other Pikmin games, you just see the floor. Pikmin 4, it opens it up, right? The camera is pivoted differently. It's more like a traditional third person, not exactly, but somewhat. So you can see off into the distance, which, allows you to see more vistas, right? The game is more
Yeah.
picturesque by making this change. So, but for everything I've seen, the game looks amazing. Like, I'm excited
Oh
to
yeah,
play
it
it
looks
when I do
incredible.
jump in. Yeah, I agree with you, at least from what I've seen. It looks
Yeah.
like one of the best looking Switch games.
The inside of the house reminded me of like, because it is Unreal Engine 4, but it reminded me of like the tech demos I used to see, because it uses like baked. I wouldn't necessarily say ray trace lighting, but it's going for that kind of same look of lighting, and it looks very nice, very very realistic lighting. All the materials look really great and varied. There's like wood and marble and leather and all kinds of different things, and it all looks great. It's one of the strangely in some parts it's one of the most uh, almost photorealistic looking games, but it's sort of stylized even in the photorealism a little bit. But it kind of does look like those photoreal Unreal Engine 4 like room demos, which is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, going beyond graphics, though, like, I haven't played it myself, again, but from what I've heard of other people who've played it, like, people feel really good about this demo. Like, the gameplay
Mm,
is pretty awesome. And I mean, from what I've personally seen, right, just from like the trailers and stuff, like especially the latest trailer, right, like they just did a great job of showing a variety of gameplay going underground.
right.
You have obviously the traditional surface gameplay, but there's a lot more environments now, right? Like you just mentioned how you start off in a house.
Yeah.
And that's a very different look for a Pikmin game, and seeing how small you are, like there is definitely an appeal to just like exploring the world and seeing it from
Right.
just how much. I mean, that's how Pikmin's always been, right? Like if the idea has been that you're like really small on a world that seems like maybe Earth far off into the future. So but now we're seeing it in more than just like, grass.
Mm.
It's in people's gardens and houses,
Yeah.
and that changes things. So that's pretty cool. And then obviously you also have the nighttime gameplay. Did you get to try out the nighttime gameplay by any chance?
No. I mean, I didn't get to try a lot of varied stuff. The interesting thing about not interesting. The kind of annoying thing about the demo actually is that after the initial part where you're playing as Olimar in the house, there's a bunch of tutorial stuff. You essentially like start at the beginning of the game with the rescue rangers or whatever their name is crash, trying to find Olimar, and then they're on the planet, and then it's just a bunch of text. It also seems that finding the rest of your like friends is not gonna take that long. I'd imagine I'll probably get the rest of them by the end of the demo. So it seems like either most of the game is going to be about trying to find Olimar, or there's going to be some sort of secret twist plot after you find Olimar.
Yeah, I've heard theories that this game is a retcon.
Yes.
Go on.
I haven't paid attention enough to because I was playing it at my parents' house when like people were like talking and being loud in the living room, so like I didn't have the volume up very loud, so I couldn't really tell what was going on. But I thought it was talking about like Pikmin 1, but then it wasn't. I don't know. But on Twitter, I know that people have been saying that they think that they retconned the game. I don't know yet.
Yeah, so I think the ultimate idea, from what I gather, is that in Pikmin 1, there's a few different potential endings. And Pikmin 2 and 3 are based off the good ending. But there are two other endings, and the bad ending is you don't have enough parts by the end of your 30-day window, but you try to leave anyway, and you end up crash landing back to the Earth, and the Pikmin take your body. I'm hesitant to call Olimar a corpse, but potentially, and they plant you, and then your head sprouts up, but you have like a little Pikmin leaf. So it's left for interpretation what that means if you die, if you were reborn as a Pikmin or something like that. But that's what some people seem to be suggesting, though, that Pikmin 4 might be taking place in that timeline where you just totally screwed up. And I've heard that like there are dreams or something like that seem to be indicative of the other games. So it's almost like the dreams would be like parallel universes, which would be the other Pikmin games, which I find fascinating. Timeline stuff is always kind of interesting, especially like, I mean, if you like to theorize about Zelda, that is all about it, right? Hint, hint, there might be a video about that later this week.
With a 3 timeline split.
Yeah, so, and what's really interesting, though, is that there's, I forget the name of the character, but there's this character that there's like a challenge thing you do with the blue dog that has like the red hair that has the body shape of Olimar, but is clearly like a wild person in this world. So what if that is like the born version of this dead Olimar or fallen Olimar?
Olimar has a dog. Are you talking about Olimar's dog? Because he has his own like blue dog that's not Aochi or however you say his name.
Yeah. Or you're calling him Olimar. Is I don't think that we know for a fact that he's Olimar, but he looks like Olimar.
Well, I'm talking about when you play as Olimar in the beginning of the game, like they tell you.
Oh, it just tells you that it's Olimar.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then it's definitely Olimar. All right. See, I didn't know that because I didn't play the demo. So the red hair guy is Olimar for sure.
Probably. You don't play as him like that, though. You play as him as just normal Olimar.
Olimar, right? Like, you're not confused. Like, I gotta play a demo.
Yeah, Olimar. Main character of Pikmin 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's probably him.
It says him. It says his name on screen.
There you go.
It says Olimar.
That's pretty obvious then. Yeah, I guess I gotta play the demo. So
I'm going crazy here. You play as Olimar for the first part of the game. Very shortly, for like 15 minutes.
I see. I guess because I didn't know about the beginning of the demo, right? So, but from the trailers, there's this guy with red hair that also
Oh yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
that has the blue dog.
I think that's probably also Olimar because it's the same blue dog. Because you have a blue dog that you use and you ride on, just like Aochi, but much bigger. Am I saying that right? Aochi?
I just
Aochi.
thought
It's O-A-C-H-I,
I thought it was
I think.
I just thought it was Ochi, like
Ochi?
Ochi.
Ochi?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Ochi.
Ochi.
Yeah.
Ochi. Okay. Ochi.
Birdman is confirming that you play as Olimar at the beginning of the Pikmin 4 demo because I can't trust you, Brandon. So
Can't be trusted.
I-
Man.
I guess what I'm curious on though is the beginning of the game. Where is that set? Is that like it sounds like maybe it isn't
Supposed to
based
be set. Well, see, that's the interesting thing is because when the intro to the game starts, it's talking about how you crash land on the planet, and you found Pikmin and you named them Pikmin, and then you're trying to find your parts, and I'm like, oh, for the ship, and I'm like, oh, this is Pikmin 1, and then but it didn't seem like it. Because then it talks about you trying to get off the planet, but then you you do not successfully get off the planet, and then you fall back down to the planet, and that's when
So I guess it's
that's
a
when the rescue
retcon.
ship comes. So it seems like that theory seems to land it very well,
Like,
because he does. It does seem like it's Pikmin 1 at first, but with a dog. Like they just retcon that in.
right. That's the weird part to me.
Yeah. But then like he has to find all of his ship parts, which he only does in 1, and then he tries to get off the planet. And in by the way, the playable section is you finding the last ship part. So you find the last ship part, and then he attempts to get off the planet. It doesn't work. He falls back down the planet. Rescue ship comes in, then they crash too. So it might very well be the theory that people are coming up with. It seems to line up extremely well.
I wonder if I should just skip Pikmin 2 and 3.
I don't know.
I don't know,
They're
man.
great games,
I don't know. Yeah, they are. So
I mean, Pikmin games aren't that long. You can probably beat
no,
them,
no. I beat Pikmin 1 like in 2.5 days. So yeah. We'll see. But actually, we ended up talking about Pikmin for longer than I thought, which is a nice little start to the show. But let's check in with the chat here, and then we'll move on to the other topics.
Cool.
Hello there, Charles Trudell. Hello there, Having Hope. Hello there, Aaron Rath. Wow, Charles, you finished Tears of the Kingdom, all shrines, all routes, 61.5% in 145 hours. And that's what's crazy. You did all the shrines, all the routes, and you only have 61.5% completion, which is a lot. I'm not going to say it isn't. I should post this on Twitter, but like I started experimenting by building different vehicles that might be suited for beating bosses. So that might even be like, I don't know, like a series we could do, or like a live stream where we build, okay, let's build the Muktarok Slayer. Because I share with Brandon like a 30-second clip. I built a device in Tears of the Kingdom where it drives around and it has lasers up top, but I made it high enough so that like if you're moving around a circle and the enemy is behind you, the lasers won't shoot you. And then I put a little bit of a guard to protect you from the front. I think the defenses could be definitely improved upon, but there's some defenses, but I also have like a narrow path extending outward with a hose attached to a hydrant attached to I forget the name of it, but it's the thing that targets other enemies around you. So I use it to fight. I've tried using it to beat the Muktarok in the depths, right? The water boss, and it has the goo. So the idea is I'm driving around, and there's a hydrant that's sticking way out of this vehicle, and the water aims towards Muktarok, getting rid of the muck, and then my lasers start beaming it, because it also has like the auto aim thing on there, and that's the general concept. But as Brandon noted, its power is limited, so
yeah, it had like 5 lasers going, and it did not do a lot of damage.
It was 4, and I think I was at my build limit. So the challenge is, I think it would be interesting to go back and maybe construct a device that can do more damage, and maybe be more protected, because when I showed him the 30-second clip that I kept getting hit and falling off and having to turn around. I wonder if there's a way to maybe make it so like it protects you from most of the enemy attacks, but like there's this giant shockwave that just goes through everything. So I'm thinking, what if I make it taller, a little bit more,
Right.
a little bit taller, so I can avoid all the attacks, but
Get
still
above the shockwave.
avoid the shockwave. Maybe slap a few more lasers on there so it can get more damage. And maybe if I'm so high up, I don't need to have such a long nose. So
just like cannons on it or something.
Cannons is another possibility. The problem with cannons,
I think they do more damage.
They do, but the blast radius will hurt me, right? Which is that was part. And so I had an idea to put the cannon on the nose with the hydrant, so that way I wouldn't get hurt, because the nose is long enough that the blast radius won't hurt me. But that takes the resources. So it's just kind of like interesting. Like, okay, can we come up with a better version? Right? Exactly. So that might be like a fun stream, like just kind of like building and improving upon vehicle ideas to fight different bosses. So
yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah, I wonder what I would do. I mean, I guess with marbled Goma, you would just use the cannons. That probably would break the legs.
Probably the best, yeah.
Maybe. But will it aim at
I'm
the
not
legs?
sure if any... I think I've tried using explosives like bomb arrows, and I don't know if you can use multiple to break the legs, but it didn't seem to work, if I recall. I think I just ended up using... what's his name?
Yunubo.
Yunubo, yes.
Yeah, and you can use Yunubo on your vehicle, so that might be the solution, Mitch. That's it. It's that simple. Yeah. Ruby, say hello to everyone. You've interrupted the stream.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Ella solo habla un poquito de español. Right? Alright. So, just going back to the chat here. Hey, Botox Game was here earlier. Yeah, no Depressed Samus this week. I didn't want to. I gotta move on. I gotta move on for Depressed Samus, but Depressed Samus may come back. So.
Depressed Samus will be happy soon.
Yeah.
What the define soon is up to you.
Yeah, maybe in September when I'm wrong about Metroid showing up in the Direct again. Which is really not... That's like 2 months from now. So, 2.5 months probably.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Like 2 months and a week or two. Something in that range, probably. Unless something else crazy happens. Which could be tied into all these Switch 2 rumors, although I doubt it. But we'll get into it.
Is that a segue? Transition?
Sorta. So I want to catch up with the chat first, so it's more like a tease. It's more like a tease.
A tease, yes.
Yeah. Inu, I hope the Switch 2 is more powerful. Imagine if they remastered Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild to make it look and do better performance-wise. Like, I think it would look better, but without
I think they could make it look a lot better. It's just the question are they gonna remaster games that the oldest one is 7 years old and the other one just came out last year? I don't know if they've had time to remaster those games working on the actual game and probably potential DLC and stuff.
Yeah, I think, I mean, most of us agree that Switch 2 is going to be more powerful. The question is how much. Now, there's a rumor going around, there's information going around suggesting that Switch 2 will be in the territory of PS4 and Xbox One.
Right.
Which I know doesn't shock Brandon or I, because it's...
No.
That's what we've been talking about.
I mean, that NVIDIA leak
yeah.
puts it right there, yeah. That we've known about for years.
But something to keep in mind, though, is that while that may be like the raw power output of it, the raw numbers don't tell the whole story. It's going to be on modern hardware, and games are going to be made with modern techniques. It's going to have likely some form of upscaling, if it's not DLSS or a more updated version of FSR. Nintendo has their own patents for upscaling technology, so there's a good chance that in conjunction with other modern techniques, modern hardware with that level of raw power is going to produce games that are going to look better than PS4. And
Probably have a much better CPU than PS4, because PS4 and Xbox One both had extremely underpowered CPUs, and I'm not exactly certain on the power of the CPU in the NVIDIA leak, like that
yeah,
level of NVIDIA CPU, but I would, considering those chips are kind of focused towards like AI and things, I would assume they don't have absolutely terrible components. And the CPUs in the PS4 and Xbox One for when they came out are just honestly really bad. So I wouldn't be shocked if this Switch 2 has much better CPU performance than like a PS4 does. Might get more 60 FPS games versus PS4 might run it at 30.
yeah. Um,
Plus that will help for running ports of games and Unreal Engine 5 games and things like that.
yeah, but I'm gonna hold there for now because we're not there yet. So just hold it there for now.
Let's hold back.
Chad Friday with a P and an H. I've had Breath of the Wild for 3 years and gave it 485 hours. Had Tears of the Kingdom for a month and a half and gave it 390 hours. I am deeply addicted.
Oh,
I do think there's just more
come out
to
of
do.
The cave, touch grass.
There's more to do in Tears of the Kingdom, and there's plenty of grass there, so you don't have to go outside.
That's true. There's lots of long flowing grass
Yeah.
in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Mind of Christ. Yeah, the demo is amazing. This is in reference to Pikmin 4. It's not capped either. You can progress as far as possible depending on how much you utilize your upgrades and how you use your time. The game is highly addictive. You finish the demo and there's a bonus you get for Pikmin Bloom for completing it. Well, if you're a Pikmin Bloom fan, play Pikmin 4 demo.
I didn't really get to the good part of the demo. I was kind of stuck in the tutorials and doing basic stuff, but it was fun from what I played.
Yeah.
I think it gets a lot better like right after the point where I stopped.
Yeah. Let's see here. JRL Toki, there is something different about your set. Can't quite put your finger on what. It might be the fact that there's just a green screen because I'm in a box, so I'm using a green screen. But the problem is, I'm using Discord to do the chats, right? So like, if this was like just a Q&A, right? In theory, I could have a green screen behind me. I mean, I guess technically I could have done that since Brandon would be off camera. Oh well. But
yeah, true. But how will people see this little face of me that doesn't look anything like me anymore, and they won't see the little green circle around my head go light up?
Right.
If they could even see that. So
there is like a little
out.
green line that you can see when we talk. So there is a minor indicator. So yeah. And then last week I subscribed to Discord Nitro because they had like a green screen effect, even though I could do it like through OBS or something. But if I want to do it through Discord, I have to like do it with whatever Discord offers. And the stream crashed like 2 or 3 times, and I think like Discord was having like some sort of weird memory leak. So, fun fact: paying for Discord might make Discord worse. Could have been a coincidence. Technically, I haven't unsubscribed yet. But I'm also not using the green screen effect either. So
Discord used to be so great. It's just
I don't know. I mean, I can't say for sure that that's what went wrong. But...
no, I would not be surprised. Either way, it's some kind of issue with Discord because it was using you said like nearly 100% of your CPU, which is not. You have a good CPU too, so.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I do not know what it was, but it did have a high usage, which was very confusing. Let's see here. Deshaun K, you love the Twilight Princess music? Appreciated.
Twilight Princess? Hell yeah.
Yeah, right now, as I'm speaking, Dragon Roost from Wind Waker, as Joycey J points out, yes, it is. Having hope, you just want Xenoblade X for Switch or Switch 2? Someday, maybe. Joseph, you just finished Tears of the Kingdom. Impressive. Let's see here. Corksy Jr. was asking, I've been playing Shin Megami Tensei 5. It's pretty good. Have you played? I have not played it.
Never played any of
I
those
do know
games.
it's good. It was on my radar,
Heard
but
it's
I
good.
just couldn't get around to it.
That's an Unreal Engine 4 third-party Switch game. It looks
Yeah.
pretty good.
Samuel A., how far are you into Pikmin 2? I know you mentioned what you were starting it. So I actually haven't started it yet. I mean to start it. I haven't started it yet. So I'm about to start it. I'm like, all right, it's time to start it. Let's get started. I just haven't done it. So, but I will.
Soon.
Very soon. Maybe tonight soon. We'll see. I've been binging a lot of One Piece recently on my free time.
Nice.
Yeah.
What
Right.
episode you on?
So right now I'm past the four. I just passed the 400s. I just got to the part
I don't
where,
think I've ever gotten that far.
and I don't want to spoil the story for anyone, but let's just say there's a part in the story around the 400s where the entire One Piece crew is split apart, and everyone's sent in different directions, and Luffy is now on this island filled with a whole bunch of women, and only women. And I know what happens afterwards, but this is like the midway point. It's like shortly before, it's like the beginning of this massive epic arc that's right before a time skip. So it's a big part in the story. I guess it's the it's the Summit War. That's what it is.
One day, 20 years from now, once One Piece is done and they put it in a like 400 episode collection or something, I'll watch it.
Yeah, you can watch it with your kids when they're about to go to college.
Yep.
Yeah. There is I don't know if you guys saw, but they have they're doing a live action for One Piece, which you would think would be terrible, because there's no such thing as a good live action adaptation for an anime, except maybe until now. I saw the trailer. I've been seeing all the promotional material with the actors. I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect, but it might be good. And if
I gotta look this up because I cannot imagine how with those designs you do a live action.
Listen, like I said, I'm not saying it's gonna be perfect. I'm sure there's gonna be some moments that are gonna be a little awkward and weird, but some people have already seen some parts of the show already behind closed doors, and they're saying very good things about it. And from the trailer, it looks great. The actors look great. Like I've seen a lot of interviews with them. They really feel like the One Piece crew, which is kind of crazy. At least in terms of casting, I think they hit it out of the park with the personalities and all. I'm optimistic for it, which I was not until I saw the trailer. But
I mean, it's not impossible that it will be good.
It hasn't happened yet.
Wait and see.
It hasn't happened yet, but that doesn't mean this can't be the first one. This does have a decent amount of money behind it, right? And Oda, the writer for One Piece, behind it as well, helping to make all of the decisions. People who are smart and intelligent, supposedly, who care about the series, have been working on this. So this doesn't feel like a cheap...
I mean, if the writer actually is really backing it up, maybe it will be good.
Hey, people had doubts about the Mario movie being good, but Miyamoto was behind it, Nintendo was behind it, and while it didn't review well, most people who watched the movie really liked it.
Did it review badly?
Oh yeah, it reviewed badly. Critics tore it apart. But I just think critics just were...
Don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it was meant to be a family-friendly, simple roller coaster kind of movie. It's not meant to be
58% on Rotten Tomatoes, but Google user reviews gave it a 91% like this movie.
Right, and I think that's actually more representative. I don't think most people watching it are like, wow, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. But most people watching it are like, oh, this is fun. I'm glad I watched that. That was cool. Like, yeah. So, you know,
how I felt, but a little bit more like, wow, that was a lot of really cool Mario references as well.
Right, yeah. And so a lot of critics, there's this one critic that is kind of infamous now. Like, they were complaining about the cat Mario suit. They're like, why would they do that? That's so random. God. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not.
That was the main power-up for a recent 3D Mario game.
I understand, like, not knowing every reference to Mario, but if you're going to complain about something, at least look it up before you complain about it publicly online. Like, at least fact check yourself,
It's
please.
so dumb. And
You
what
clearly don't know what you're talking about. You should know that you don't know what you're talking about and fact check yourself.
and actually the
You're a
Cat Mario
professional.
suit is even more relevant because not only was it the main power up and theme for 3D World, when they re-released 3D World on Switch, they came out with Bowser's Fury, which sold quite a
Yeah,
bit, and
yeah.
Bowser's Fury also had a heavy emphasis on the Cat Mario. So yeah, it's just a bad take. It's just a really bad take. But let me get to these super chats here. Oh,
Cool.
is Discord crashing on me again?
Not that I can tell.
Okay, OBS looks okay. Guys in the chat, let me know if things start to get wacky. I don't know.
What's the issue?
Well, it's just YouTube says, I have like a yellow bar. It says, YouTube is not
Oh.
receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. I see that sometimes, and
Yeah, I've seen that sometimes in the streams. Fine.
right. Yeah, but I'm just a little bit worried after what happened last week.
Right.
So,
I get you.
yeah.
Let us know in the chat if everything seems good.
Yeah.
If anything starts seeming bad, let us know that as well.
Dragon Chief saying there is severe buffering. Oh, yeah. Maybe this Discord thing has like a weird memory leak or something. It's possible.
Well, check your task manager.
Yeah. Let's see here. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's just a. Uh-oh, no. I think that's exactly what it is. I'm seeing it drop down to like 1,000 kilobytes a second, which is 20% operating of the powers. Like that is not even close to what it's supposed to be.
No.
System interrupts 100% CPU. What does that even mean? I don't know. Alright, so Discord is apparently using 50% of the CPU. 50.
That's insane.
Why?
To put it into perspective, Discord is currently using 4% of my CPU.
Alright, well I can end. I'm gonna end a task here, see if it fixes something.
Yeah, it's gonna drop.
Yeah. I don't know what to do about that. Man, that's so weird. I'm gonna see if I can fix this, but all right. It looks like things are going back to normal. No. Wow. So it's happening again. Oh god, I hate Discord. So literally, this is because I upgraded my Discord. So upgrading my Discord means it's worse. Brandon, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's
Can't see you, though.
I think it's 100% Discord. It's 100% a Discord problem. It's crazy.
After the podcast, we'll probably have to try, maybe uninstalling and reinstalling Discord.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not even using a green screen, which is insane. I wonder if I can just like.
No, it seems to be a separate issue from the green screen.
Yeah.
I don't think the issue was the green screen, to clarify.
Yeah. Alright, I'm trying to see if I can fix this real quick, that way it doesn't crash again. The vid is frozen. Hold on. I'm just trying to see if, because what I'm trying to do is I can see if I can turn off the Discord Nitro thing, because that seems to be what, because ever since I've done that, Discord has been, you know, it does this weird thing where over time it like starts to just take over.
Take over the whole PC.
I don't even know how to see.
It's
It won't.
It's almost like a virus.
I don't know.
It's weird.
I have a feeling it's gonna crash again if I just keep going. So that's the unfortunate part. So weird. I'm almost debating if I should fix this and just reschedule for tomorrow, because this happened 3 times last week, and that's not good. I don't even know what to change. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's the thing is, we'd have to troubleshoot the issue.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do live.
Yeah. Well,
you could just monitor. You could have task manager open on the screen, just look.
Sure. Right. Like right
doing.
now, Discord's at 11%, but it's like it slowly creeps
fair.
up. Now it's at 15. Strange. All right, I'll go back to our faces, but all right, let's just continue, and then we'll see what happens. And I'll just monitor. Hopefully it doesn't get worse, but I have a feeling it will. All right. So there's a few super chats. Let me get to those. All right. So Samuel A, thank you for the super chat, buddy. What are your revised percentage predictions on Switch 2 based on the new rumors? I'm gonna get crazy and say March 2024 with a reveal in September or October. I don't even know if I can offer percent predictions at this point.
Yeah.
I am on the side of 90% Switch 2 is out by the end of 2024. Which that's a huge window.
I'm like 99%. I'm almost certain, but I always leave a little room for doubt. I will say though, this doesn't really change my opinion, but I think it's going to be holiday 2024. I mean, devs takes a long time for them to make games. We're not even sure what dev got the dev kit. So I don't know.
We'll get. Well, I'm gonna get to the dev kit stuff.
We gotta get to that.
Yeah. Taker610 with also a super chat. Thank you, Taker. I've watched every episode of One Piece, and I'm giving this a chance. Though Cowboy Bebop fans gave that show a chance too after a good trailer.
I've heard some people really like that show, but a lot of people really don't.
We're talking about the live action one.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
I've heard some fans actually really do like the live action version. So that one might be more split. But that might just be from the people I've seen personally. It might just be like just the people on my Twitter feed like it and everybody else hates it.
It's tough to say. I haven't seen that one, so.
Me either.
Yeah.
I've seen a few episodes of like the original, but I didn't get into it.
Yeah, I think though when you have the creator involved with the show, that facilitates it being good. Like the same way the Mario movie was what Nintendo wanted it to be. If the writer for One Piece is involved with the making of the show, it's more likely to feel like the show. And I think something that's important though is that depending on the medium, it does have to change, right? Like you can't make it exactly the same. So there will be changes, there will be adaptations, but if it still holds that core spirit of it, that's great. I mean, at the same time, you don't want it to be exactly the same. You want it to be its own thing,
right?
Because why just watch the anime then? Why even bother watching the adaptation if it's just the same thing? But if it's
I'm curious how the CGI will hold up, because there's a lot of like special effects they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
Like even just for like Luffy being able to stretch and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be a lot of CGI work. I hope their budget's really, really big.
Yeah. From the CGI scene in the trailer, it looks pretty solid. There are maybe some moments that aren't perfect, but overall, it's like there's money behind it. But it's more so the idea of trying to, because as you said earlier, One Piece is a really wacky show. Like One Piece is almost like a fusion of like it's like a fusion of Looney Tunes and Naruto and a few other cool things. Like I don't know, Friends, and just fuse that together, right? Like it's crazy. So, and Lord of the Rings. Like it's just like adventure, comedy, action, all in one.
It's the whole package.
Yeah. But it's really wacky too. But to represent that in live action, it's really hard. But this is a gaming podcast, so let's get into those Switch 2 rumors before Discord crashes everything again. So there's a lot. There's so many rumors going around right now. We briefly touched on the graphics thing, how we've heard that it might be in the PS4 range, but there's a little bit of some misinterpretation going around about that. So there is this ongoing legal battle between the FTC and Microsoft, and Bobby Kotick, which I don't know his exact position in Activision, but
he's the president of Activision.
He's pretty important to Activision, and he was talking about how he had to.
I think he's the
testify.
CEO, actually.
He had to testify, and he was asked about Call of Duty being able to run on if that's something that could happen, and because of this, there's a few things he said. He talked about how he was having discussions with Nintendo, and how he thinks that yes, Call of Duty could be on a Switch successor. It is in the realm of PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. And people took that and ran with it. We're like, oh, okay, so Switch specs are about PS4. Great. But if you continue on, he also says he doesn't have specific specs yet, so he doesn't know 100% for sure if it could run, but he believes it could. So the overall implication is that he is under the impression that it probably can be done, but he doesn't have specific specs. So my interpretation of that is, okay, so he's in. They've had conversations about it. There's an awareness of it, but they don't have like a final dev kit yet. At least nothing that they reported there during that legal battle.
And to be fair, I wouldn't assume Activision is super high on the list for dev kits for Switch, considering they barely support Nintendo. There's some stuff that they do, but not a ton.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that I see people a lot disappointed that it's only PS4. I've kept seeing people think that it was going to be closer to like the Xbox Series S, which I just think is completely unrealistic. To be fair, I don't think Nvidia even makes a chip, a mobile chip that has a GPU that's as good as the Xbox Series S, but they might have something close, but that would be like their top of the line kind of CPU, not something that would go into Switch. So I don't know what people were really expecting. I've been saying for years basically that this is gonna be like PS4, Xbox One specs, and I mean we touched on it before, but I think that's perfectly fine. Like the PS4 and Xbox One are a lot more powerful than Switch, and so actually having that kind of power behind a Nintendo console is going to be a big game changer. It's going to feel like a generational leap. Will it bring us up to the same generation fidelity of like the PS5 and the Xbox Series X? No. But we're already basically 2 generations behind at this point. So even just, jumping 1 generation closer is going to be a big leap for Nintendo. And you can't realistically expect them to come out with a handheld that's going to be really that much more powerful than PS4. I mean, we've seen Steam Deck is less powerful than the PS4. It's somewhere in between, like Xbox One and PS4 specs. I don't remember off the top of my head the exact specs, so I'm not going to say. And then we're seeing even the newest handhelds that are coming out this year that are, $700, $800, $1,000. They're not that much more powerful than the Steam Deck, and they're not really pushing that much more past PS4. I'm not even sure if we've seen a mobile GPU that's even hit 2 teraflops, let alone the 4 teraflops that's in the Xbox Series S. So I think this is well within expectations, and I think it's going to be a game changer for visuals. I mean, we're seeing games like Metroid Prime Remastered and Pikmin 4 and all these great visuals, and You know, just imagine what they can do with something that's like 6 to 8 times more powerful.
Yeah, I think that's important to consider. Like how much, like a PS4 level is how much more times powerful than Switch. What's the teraflops for a PS4 again?
Well, if you want to go pure GPU, the teraflop is it's like 1.81, I think.
Which is like about 4.5 times
If
more
you want,
powerful than a Switch, right? Because I think
the Switch is like 500.
oh, see, I was thinking 700, but I think that's only when it's like overclocked.
That's when it's like full power potential, but they don't use that ever, technically on Switch.
So we're talking
I
4 to 5 times more powerful though. Like that is
Yeah, something like that. I mean, that's just raw GPU. Then you got CPU performance, which will likely be an absolutely insane leap. I think that's probably going to be the biggest leap. That and like RAM speeds, because the memory speeds for Switch are like super bottlenecked compared to PS4. Not only do they have like way less RAM, but it's like a sixth of the speed or something like that. Like it's way slower. So things like that will be a huge leap that will allow more ports. I think those are going to be the big ones, like CPU and RAM. Because the Switch, you know, some games are bottlenecked by GPU, but a lot of the times, if a port can't come to the Switch, it's because it's just not CPU performant, or there's not enough RAM to actually like load the game, you know, and like run the logic. So having like a big leap in CPU and RAM performance will allow a lot more ports to be viable and allow a lot more 60 FPS stuff on Switch as well for third-party games.
You know, it's interesting because I was watching this video from Modern Vintage Gamer. He was basically trying to run Tears of the Kingdom with his modded Switch and overclocking different parts of it, the CPU, the RAM speeds, or the CPU speeds. And
you can upgrade the CPU a lot on the OLED and the battery life upgraded versions of the Switch. Like everything post 2017 Switch, you can boost that a lot more than the base Switch just because it's a lot better chip.
Yeah. But what was interesting about his video though, right, is that what he ended up discovering is that by improving the RAM speeds, so the CPU and GPU didn't seem to make that much of a difference for frame rate. Some, but not significant. But what ultimately allowed the frame rate to become consistent while using Ultra Hand in busy city areas was upping the RAM speeds.
Yep.
So, you know, if Switch 2 has a lot more RAM, that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and especially it will have a lot faster RAM because the supported RAM for the because we don't currently know how much RAM it's going to have, but if you look at the specs for the CPU that was leaked, like that generation has very specific like RAM speeds. I don't remember what they are, but they're several times faster than the RAM in the Switch. So yeah, something like Tears of the Kingdom at 60 FPS would be very viable on a Switch 2.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can turn off the Nitro stuff because I see the Discord. I don't know if it's a memory leak or something because as time progresses, it's like taking up more and more of the CPU. So when it was crashing before, it was at 100, but now we're like in the low 70 range now. So it's like getting higher and higher, like way higher than it should be.
Already in the low 70s?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't even know how to.
Bro.
I just want to get rid of it. I just want to like say no. I don't want this feature.
Just cancel
this feature.
Did you cancel it?
I'm trying to cancel it. It won't let me.
It won't let you.
No.
There's got to be a way to cancel your
Well, the thing is, when I go to Discord Nitro on Discord, it's like, oh, you're streaming right now. Streamer mode enabled. It doesn't even let me look at the settings for it.
Under billing settings? In your user settings? Go to your user settings and then go to
I'm trying to do it
settings
on my phone.
and go to Nitro.
Advanced? No. Where would billing even be?
It's under user settings, billing settings.
I'm under billing settings. Okay.
Nitro.
Manage Nitro. There's nothing there. It's just like there's all these other wonderful options you can pay for. I don't want any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I could get Nitro right now.
I
Plan
don't
starting at
want
only
it.
$2.99 a month.
I
Cancel anytime. Cancel anytime, it says.
How do I cancel it? All it
I don't
do.
know, but it says you can. Cancel anytime.
I hate this. I hate this
Except
so
right
much.
now.
It's such a terrible. How do you pay for something and then it gets worse? I hate that.
Oof. Oof.
I hate that.
It's a big L.
And by worse, not usable. Yeah. Anyway,
Actively broken.
I don't know. I know it's gonna get to a point where it's gonna be bad, but it's fine. We'll reset. We'll get through the show. I know I said I would fix this last week and I didn't. I thought it would be
We'll
fine.
fix it this time.
It seemed fine when we started. But anyway, let's move on though, right? So like, we don't know for a fact what the spec range is of Switch 2 exactly. We maybe a ballpark, right? Like,
Yeah.
but it's even then, like, there's
We know chipset it's based off of.
right. The T239, right? That was like, but that was leaked a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Yep. It's almost
Yeah.
certainly the same though.
Yeah.
R&D on systems takes years and years and years and millions of dollars.
But you know what I want to move on to though, Brandon. I'm glad you brought up just like R&D taking years and years. This is not exactly the same thing, but development, because
yes.
supposedly dev kits are now out for Nintendo Switch 2. And with a lot of the Switch 2 speculation about release timing and such, the one big thing that we were kind of waiting on before we were like, okay, maybe this is really not so far off is dev kits, because we weren't really hearing about dev kits until now. So, this leaker that goes by the name of Nash Weedle, El Analista de Leaks, is a Spanish Twitter user. I can translate it, but yes, the Switch 2 development kit has arrived in Spain, and then they also say that the Spanish studio has a kit, and when you consider like Nintendo's policy of secrecy, this says a lot about the relationships, and this suggests that they are in the last phases before presenting the new system. That was kind of like a very basic summary of what's said there. So what does this mean? Does this mean that Switch 2 is around the corner? So first off, do we trust the person?
How long's the hallway? What define corner?
Well, we'll get to that. But is this person reliable? Well, this person told us about Metroid Dread a while before it was revealed. Said it was going to be made by Mercury Steam. It was going to be a 2D Metroid game. And it was coming out in 2021. All this was said beforehand. Now, I guess you could argue it was semi-predictable because Mercury Steam made Metroid Samus Returns. They did a good job with that. But there was no guarantee we would be getting a new Metroid for sure. There was some suggestions on some interviews, but nothing for certain. It was, wasn't confirmed. And to say that it would be called Metroid Dread,
big.
That's big. Now, it has been said that there have been some forums where it may have been leaked elsewhere beforehand, so it's possible this person just kind of robbed that information. But a lot of sites are reporting this. I'm inclined to believe them, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt because maybe not.
Always.
But I haven't seen anything where they've been wrong. Now I haven't analyzed every single one of their posts, right? But like I look at their Twitter, it doesn't really look like they post about a lot of leaks. They do talk about stuff, but they're not like reporting leaks all the time, right? Like it doesn't look like they're trying to seek out clout by bringing, I got this inside knowledge. Like occasionally they do it,
right?
So it doesn't feel like a Samus Hunter situation, or like a Detective Pikachu situation. So I forget the name of the person. The person has like the Detective Pikachu avatar. Which
I do not.
It doesn't matter. It's just a leaker that doesn't seem to have the most reliable track record. So I don't even know if you call them a leaker, right? But
Phony.
they build a following on social media by providing leaks, and people follow them because maybe this is legit, and a lot of them get it wrong, or maybe they piggyback of other legitimate leakers and they get some of it right, and so there's a lot of conflation, and people think, oh, maybe they're legit or not, right? So it gets it can get messy, but I don't think that's what this Twitter user is, but you can't say for 100% certain. Now, what's interesting, though, is that it checks out, right? Like, they're not leaking everything. If they had inside information on Mercury Steam, a Spanish studio, then they would likely have the inside know-how on, development in Spain. So if they're hearing about dev kits in Spain, that would maybe make sense. Now, assuming this is true, is this studio Mercury Steam? A lot of people are making that assumption, and it might be. It makes sense, but they're not saying it's Mercury Steam.
No,
they didn't clarify that. So
I'm not sure really who else could be. I'm not.
I don't know. I don't know enough about
studios. Yeah.
So I mean, Mercury Steam seems like a decent bet, but I wouldn't assume it for sure. But this same leaker has provided a rumor beforehand that Metroid Dread 2, or the follow-up to it, is already in development by Mercury Steam, and it's slated for 2025. That's the target. And if that's the case, then maybe you can connect the dots and think, oh, okay, so Mercury Steam has a Switch 2 dev kit, so they can finalize their game for Switch 2 and release it in 2025. Now, that would imply that Switch 2 will be out at the latest 2025, and if you assume that Metroid Dread 2, Metroid 6 is what it would be, right? It probably wouldn't be called Metroid Dread 2, but not to confuse that with Prime 4, and I know that's confusing. There are two different types of Metroid series, right? The 2D Metroid series. The next 2D Metroid, if it's to come out in 2025, it probably wouldn't be the launch title for a Switch 2, right? So the Switch 2 would come out beforehand. And there's a lot of ifs there, right? That's assuming that Mercury Steam is a studio here. It's assuming this rumor is legitimate. That's assuming that this target 2025 timing is for this game is also legit. So there's a lot of hoops to go through. But, if we are getting dev kits, I do think it means that we are close. Now, when I put up my video yesterday, I noticed a lot of people kind of saying, okay, so if we're just getting dev kits now, that means we're still 2 to 3 years out. That's not necessarily the case, because developers will be working on games before they get the final dev kit. So it's not necessarily the case. Some developers will get a dev kit, the final dev kit, like a year before release, or even sooner sometimes a few months. So it isn't necessarily the case that Switch 2 is 2 to 3 years out from now.
Well, I assume a lot of the non-Nintendo launch titles for this system aren't going to be exclusives anyways, so they don't really need the dev kits for like the entire development time. They just need to make like a Switch 2 version essentially for the game. So it may be the case that a lot of developers just aren't going to have exclusive games to start out with. I think some bigger third parties might, but again, as you said, if they know the relative specs, they can start working on projects beforehand. I mean, most companies do, because you're just not going to get, with how long development takes these days, it could be 3 to 5 to way many more years than that even to develop a game. You're just not going to get the dev kit. If you want to release a game at launch, you're not going to get the dev kit in time to start. It's never going to happen unless you're making something very small. So yeah, I mean, developers are going to be working on games beforehand, and I think there's going to be a pretty decent sized cross-gen period, at least for the first year of Switch. Not a lot of exclusive titles, I would assume. So
let me point something out to you, Brandon.
I think it makes sense.
So I had made a video last week saying, and Brandon, you agree with me, right? Like how the Nintendo Direct seemed to suggest that we're getting a lot of transitional games, And when I made that video, I got a lot of pushback on that. And basically, I was saying that there's a lot of remasters and remakes that we're getting now, and that seems to suggest that these are more transitional games, and they are kind of like the stopgap between the now and Switch 2. And it's going to be kind of like this. These are going to be the kind of games we're going to get for Switch for the next 2 to 3 years, while Switch 2 becomes more prevalent and Switch 1 starts to wane. And a lot of people kind of disagree with me saying, well, we've been getting remasters like throughout the Switch generation. That doesn't really change anything. Except I went ahead and checked the numbers. So let me run this by you, right? And I talked about this earlier in today's video, and hopefully Discord doesn't cause OBS to crash on me while I do this, because I see now it's at 90%.
You want to just do a quick reset before, just get ahead of the issue?
This should only take like 5 seconds, so yeah.
Yeah, why not? Might as well.
Yeah, one quick moment, guys. And I will fix the Discord problem for sure. Like I'm gonna uninstall it and cancel this garbage thing. I'm not even using the green screen effect. Like I got it purely for the green screen effect, and it doesn't even work. You there, Brandon?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we are.
There you are.
Yep, here I am. All right, now I can worry less about it just crashing on me for at least a few more minutes. Yep, and CPU dropped down to the 60s, so which is not amazing, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's dropping more actually. I don't know. Anyways, so back to the point. All right, so in 2017, and this doesn't account for digital downloads, and this list also includes games that were only published in certain regions. And by the way, games that are only published in certain regions are new games, so this actually hurt my ratios, hurting my argument. Yep, despite this included, my argument still holds. So, check this out. In 2017, Nintendo published 11 titles, physically. 2 of those were remakes and either an enhanced port of some kind or remake or remaster. Thinking on it, those 2 games were Mario Kart Deluxe and Pokken Tournament Deluxe. Okay, so the 11-to-2 ratio, or 18% being the remake remaster port kind. Okay, in 2018, the ratio was 18-to-4. 22% were in that port remake remaster range.
A little bit higher.
It went a little bit higher, but same kind of territory. 2019, it actually dropped. It was 17-to-2, only 11%. But then in 2020, which you may know was the pandemic year, the ratio was 13-to-4. 30% of the games that came out during that time were ports, remakes, or remasters that were published by Nintendo. In 2021, the year removed from the pandemic, so still recovering, it was at 29%. And there were 17 titles published, 5 of which were in that range. Okay, so the pandemic recovery year is 2021, 30 and 21%, right? The highest years. Then 2022, Nintendo kind of gets back into the swing of things fully, and the ratio is 12-to-1. 12 published Nintendo titles. Of those, only 1 was in that territory of remake, remaster sort of thing. And 8%. So, what do you think the rate? Just give me like what do you think the range is for this year?
Bro, it's felt like it's like 50%.
Okay, well, glad you said that, because the ratio is 11-to-6.
Oh my gosh!
Right. So of the 11, six of the games are remakes, remasters, or ports, but that's counting Pikmin 1 and 2 individually, because they are individual releases, right? If you don't count them, it's 44%. But here's where it gets crazy,
Still very
Brandon.
high.
Right? And why would we not count Pikmin 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? They are published by Nintendo. They are being released physically. They are separate releases. Why wouldn't we? But here's what's crazier. What if Nintendo keeps this pattern of announcing, of shadow dropping a remaster every direct? Then they shadow drop another one in September.
That's Metroid Prime 2.
Maybe Metroid Prime 2. There's a lot of options, right? Point is, though,
HD, Twilight Princess HD.
Point is, though, even if you lowball things, we're looking at 44%. And if they announce the thing in September, it's like 60 something percent. Oh, it would be 58 to 61%. Because what if they announce
Yeah.
Prime 2 and 3 together, the same way they did Pikmin 1 and 2, right? So, but
Hmm.
we're in that range of 44 to 61%, depending on how things shake out. That is significantly higher than every other year on Switch.
Yeah.
So,
A lot.
when I say that this direct made it clear that we are in that transitional phase where we're getting more remakes and remasters, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not pulling this out of my butt. Like it's
Yeah.
totally the truth. Now you could just say it's a coincidence. You can argue it's a coincidence. It might be a coincidence. You could argue that more remakes and remasters this year does not really mean anything for the future. But given that we are now headed towards the 7th year anniversary, that when this fiscal year ends, if Nintendo hits their forecast, it'll be the 3rd year trending downwards of hardware sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All those things point towards Nintendo is transitioning. Nintendo does not go several years with hardware sales trending downwards. That's not how it works. Maybe a year or two, and then they announce it, right? Like
Right.
that's where we're at now.
Their lineup for this year is very interesting in terms of like hardware sales, because other than Tears of the Kingdom, I wouldn't say any of their games are really system sellers, but I think all of them are great software sellers, especially
totally.
2D Mario.
Mario Bros.
Because I
Wonder
don't
is
think
gonna sell
2D
at least
Mario
20.
is going to be pushing systems. Maybe it will, maybe a few million. I don't think it's going to be like this huge thing that people are like, I have to go out and buy a Switch to get Super Mario Wonder. But people who have Switches, I think, are going to be really into the game. Because I feel like if you're into Super Mario Wonder, you're kind of like already probably bought a Switch because you're like core Nintendo, kind of like Nintendo, like mainstream core, kind of, you know. Uh, so I would suspect people who like are probably already bought it for like Mario Kart 8 and Smash and things like that. But they're all great system software sellers, which is great for an end of life or nearing end of life system. Because that's really what you want to maximize towards the end of the life of a console, is just get those software sales, because you're making a lot more on software than you are on hardware anyways. The kind of key strategy seems to be build up a huge hardware base and then focus on selling software to them. Especially if you're Xbox and Sony, who sell their hardware at a loss. But even Nintendo, it's not like they're making a ton of money on every single Switch.
No, because inflation hasn't helped.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the software they sell is extraordinary, right? So,
Oh yeah.
the argument that Nintendo should maintain the generation as long as possible, and sell as much as possible, like, I mean, yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. We don't disagree with that, but
yeah. The other thing is, though, you need to sell software, but you also need to like have a definitive plan for the future, right? Because I think you can do both. Like, you can sell software to Switch users, and you can sell hardware to them. Because you don't want to eventually just stop selling a lot of hardware, right? Because that's not going to be good. You do want to maximize sales for software at the end of a lifetime of a console. But if you're not actively growing your audience is kind of lessening in a way. And a new console is something that, why would they not want to come out with, especially with the amount of people who would buy it? You can get hardware sales, because they're losing hardware sales year on year on year. You can get that increase in hardware sales and still maximize software sales with like a cross-gen period. Heavy cross-gen. We already got confirmation. I don't know if we've ever mentioned this in any of the podcasts. I think it came out this week that we got confirmation that Nintendo accounts will be carrying over from the Switch to the Switch 2.
We've had that confirmed like 4 times in the last like 3 years. So
it was pretty much confirmed when they announced the account system.
Yeah.
Like that was part of their plans initially, which I kept saying, and people were like, "Nah, nah, nah."
But
But no, it's true.
people doubt it because it's not like really spelled out. But it's kind
Yeah,
of like, well,
the graph clearly
yeah,
shows
yeah,
like next gen hardware 20XX, the account's still going.
right. So it's like extra confirmed,
Yeah.
but it's still not totally confirmed. So you know,
Yeah.
until Nintendo announces that your Nintendo accounts transfer over. But the thing is, like, to what extent do they transfer over, right? Like, do all your eShop downloads transfer over, right? Can you download the same games? Like, is it basically like getting a Switch OLED versus a Switch, right? Like, can you just sign into that system and have all the same access
I
to
mean, I
games?
think it has to be, especially if you want to have. I mean, you already have this precedent set by both Sony and Microsoft that this is just something that is done just normally. Like, it's not something that you have to like hope for. It's just like a native feature with every other platform. When you upgrade, you expect to keep your software. PC, you upgrade your GPU, obviously everything on Steam and all your accounts is still going to be there. When you upgrade from PS4 to PS5, you expect basically everything to transfer over, like all your account stuff. There may be some legacy stuff, so I could see potentially the biggest thing I could see is maybe they change the online stuff for like emulation, but I don't see why they would. I don't see how they could make that make sense. But everything else, I think they have to. They have to make sure that all the save data, like your cloud backups, need to transfer. Your eShop games need to transfer. Like I should be able to go onto my Switch 2 day one and boot up like Mario Kart 8 from the eShop.
Yeah. I don't know how Nintendo's going to do it, right? Ideally, a lot of it transfers over, right? Like I think they have incentive to because we pay for it. We pay for Switch Online, right? So I think getting all the Switch Online stuff transferred over seamlessly would be amazing. If the system's backwards compatible and we have the same access to Switch eShop, like that would be fantastic. Like these would be definitely great things to kind of smooth over the transition. But yeah, I mean, point is like we're hearing about all these different things, right? Like that's the ultimate point. When you brought that up, that's another sort of element we're hearing about. We're hearing about dev kits. There's a lot of discussion on Nintendo's next generation console during this FTC thing. So because of all the legal elements, like this information is coming out. Normally it wouldn't. And it's kind of, it's giving us hints about what's to come. So, and you look at the Direct, as I pointed out, with the ratios of remasters, remakes, and ports, like it's clear that it's the highest it's been the entire generation, and it's very comparable to the end of the 3DS's life, which still went on for a few years into Switch's life. But point is, Nintendo's going to use these games to help transition things over, still give us games on Switch for a few years, but open the door for Switch 2 and build that audience up while Switch slowly wanes, right? So yeah, I do think Switch 2 is close. I do believe it's probably out by the end of 2024. But there are rumors that this may happen even sooner than that. Some are suggesting that there could be an announcement even this week for Switch 2.
These crazy people. What insane maniacs are saying this?
So, as much as I would love to be like, I told you, right? Like, I would love to, like, predict, yep, Switch 2 is getting announced this week, and everyone's going to call me an idiot for it, and then in 2 days, I'll be right, and people will be like, we should have trusted you. I'm not going to do that.
Shouldn't have called you an unhinged lunatic, man.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. Because I'm just going to tell you what I think. And what I think is that seems really unlikely. It just seems really unlikely. I'll say this, right? Like, when you look at the Nintendo Direct, right, the fact that they announced Mario Wonder and Detective Pikachu returns in October, and then WarioWare and Mario RPG in November, I think that pretty much seals the deal on any new hardware coming out for the second half of the year. But August, September, and December are mysteriously vacant. 3 months out of the year that there aren't any scheduled Nintendo published titles. So, in theory, only in theory, I'm not saying I believe this, but only in theory, could Nintendo announce a new system this month, and it comes out in, say, I don't know, September with a big launch game, and then in October and November they have DLC and patches for a lot of existing games, and then December there's like the next gen game. It's conceivable, but it's highly unlikely. Like, I wouldn't. No.
Oh,
Right.
It just doesn't feel like it, bro. Just really not feeling it.
No, I don't think so. Right? I don't believe this. But if it happens, I mean, I'll be thrilled.
I'd be over the moon.
Right, I'll be over the moon, because like then and that's kind of the thing, right? Like, we think it's extremely unlikely, but if it were to happen, that would be the hypest thing ever. But I just don't believe that. No. So I wouldn't expect it at all. If Nintendo shocks the world, let them shock the world. Let them.
Please.
Yeah, like, exactly, please. So, I mean, Ryan, you and I are on the same page here. It's not happening this year at all.
Yeah,
but you want to know what's
unlikely.
something else that people doubt? A lot of people are doubting. People doubt that Switch 2 could come out March of 2024. And
I'm not gonna lie, I am amongst these folk who doubt.
Yeah, I hear you, and I'm not even saying I disagree. I think I agree with you. I think it's unlikely for March of 2024, but it's not as unlikely as this year.
We entertain all the possibilities here.
Yeah, and then get attacked for each one. Like, even if we don't believe it. Oh, how dare you even suggest the possibility? You're going to hell. You sure? Anyway,
well, we are devil's advocates, so we'll meet you down there in hell.
The puns. So I made a video entertaining the possibility of a March release. And so, and at the beginning of the video, I say, listen, I don't necessarily think I believe this, but there are some things about this that kind of make sense.
Right.
And those things are, we had the Pokemon DLC leak, and part of that included a graphics patch launching with the second wave of the Pokemon DLC, which is supposed to come out this winter, which puts it in that territory of maybe a March release. And then also Prime 4 supposedly is coming out by the end of the fiscal year. Like, apparently that's in the cards. So it kind of opens up this idea of, well, what if Prime 4 is a launch title for Switch 2? And a lot of people will be like, well, that doesn't make any sense because Metroid doesn't sell very well. And I'd be inclined to agree. I'm the huge Metroid fan. I don't think that is the most likely outcome. I think 3D Mario is the best bet. And given that Mario Wonder and Mario RPG are coming out this holiday, we're probably not going to get 3D Mario until at least summer, potentially next holiday. So, you know, like, I think more realistically, like, the chances of Switch 2 coming out in March, like, it's not very likely. I think sometime between summer and holiday 2024, like, that's like the more realistic window.
Because Prime 4 is a great launch window game. It's probably going to show off the power of the Switch 2 pretty well. Got a great version on there. Yeah. But as you say, it just doesn't have the IP recognition to sell a new system. I think it will sell to a hardcore audience, but it's just not going to sell to the mainstream. It's going to be something that does well, like, around launch, but it's not going to drive launch.
Yeah, that's what I would say is probably what is the case. But just kind of exploring the option further, though, right? Depending on how Nintendo's handling this transition, if it is meant as a smooth transition, if it is backwards compatible, there are going to be a lot of cross-gen titles. If Nintendo accounts are going to transfer over seamlessly, and all of this stuff, and a lot of games are just going to be are just going to be enhanced automatically or with, you know, minimal, with just requiring like a small patch or something.
Right.
If that's kind of like how they're marketing it, if they're kind of marketing it as more like a Switch Premium sort of thing, because they still plan on selling Switch for a few more years, then maybe Prime 4 as a cross-gen title might be a better idea than releasing an exclusive 3D Mario, alienating that large install base. And it really comes down to how Nintendo's going to market and position this. So, which is why I think it's worth bringing up as a possibility, because Prime 4 could be the ultimate way to showcase what this system can do, And on that note of what the system can do, there are some rumors kind of going around that there might be more to the controller. There are some patents about more expanded like audio inputs. Maybe Nintendo would want to give you a headset for this, because it might be like,
give me a headphone jack, please.
Right, like, so the point being though is that they may want to try and deliver a really immersive experience, right? So Prime 4 might be kind of like an ideal game to showcase that, So it really just comes down to what the Switch 2 is and how Nintendo wants to do the messaging and marketing for this, and how it differs itself from Switch, because there's a lot of variables here, right? So I don't think it's impossible that Prime 4 could be a launch title for Switch 2. I'm not gonna bet on it. I'm not gonna I wouldn't hold out hope. But I think it's worth that discussion. It's probably 3D Mario though, and it's probably coming out in the second half of next year, sometime then. Like, that's what I think is probably happening, but you never really know.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some consoles these days don't launch with huge, launch titles. I don't think the PS5 or the Xbox Series X had particularly huge launch titles. I don't even think any of their launch titles are actually exclusive to the next generation, as far as I am aware. So
wait, which one?
PS5 and Xbox Series X.
PS5 had Demon Souls.
Remake. So they had that. But most of their stuff
was the Miles
PlayStation
Morales
actually had
DLC. The Miles Morales. It was like a
but both of those games were cross-gen.
Okay.
The remaster, of course, wasn't, but it's just the same game remastered. And then Miles Morales was cross-gen. Spider-Man 2 is not going to be on PS4 though. That comes out this year though.
Yeah.
We see a lot of very, very few exclusives. More so on Sony, because we get, like Ratchet and Clank, and as you were saying, Demon Souls. There's a few other ones, but basically no exclusives for Microsoft. There's a few, obviously, if you look for them.
Yeah.
Not really. So, there might be a lot of non-exclusive stuff around the launch of Switch. And to be fair, they could launch. They don't have to launch with an exclusive. Like, if they launch with 3D Mario and it also runs on the normal Switch, I think that would be fine as well.
Yeah, it just depends. Like, as YYY in the comments says, like, no, 3D Mario at launch, the install base will be too thin. If it's meant as an exclusive, then I kind of see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But there's just so many variables, right? Like, I think if we look at this from a perspective of how things have been handled in the past, it may not be the best way to look at it, because times are changing.
Yeah.
The generations are lasting longer. There are more iterative revisions for systems. And so, like, the gap between one generation and the next is not as clear anymore.
Very true.
So it's gonna be a little bit tricky to see how Nintendo handles this. So with that all said, Prime 4 may not be that much of a stretch. And I'll throw this other detail out there, and I've talked about this before, but before Breath of the Wild, the Zelda series wasn't that big of a seller. It was maybe somewhere within 2 to 3 times more sales potential than a Metroid game, but not like the best-selling Zelda game had sold 7 to 8 million.
Right.
So Metroid Prime had sold 2.5. So it's conceivable that Metroid Prime 4 could come out and push the Metroid series to a greater level, right? Like maybe it becomes
That'd be nice.
like a 5 to 7.5 million seller, and at that point, that seems like like a pretty healthy launch title. But of course, we don't know what it's gonna sell. It's a big guess. We'd have to guess, and we're not sure.
We may not need as many exclusives for this system, at least at first, because I think there's a lot of people right now who want a more powerful Switch. They don't need exclusives. They just want to play the current games coming out for Switch better. Like I think a lot of people would pay good money to play, Tears of the Kingdom at 4K 60, or games like Bayonetta 3, which had a lot of performance issues. To play that at a locked 60 FPS, I think a lot of people would have upgraded. And there's just tons and tons of examples of games coming out right now for Switch that could use upgrades. Even less. It's not just about targeting next gen visuals for Switch. But cleaning up current gen games. A lot of games struggle to run on Switch, and they're very low resolution, no anti-aliasing. Sometimes rocky performance. And I think a lot of games, even just right now, could benefit from a Switch 2. Not so much with their holiday lineup is the thing, which definitely makes me feel like, as we've been saying, no Switch 2 this year, because you don't need a Switch. You're not going to be playing Super Mario Bros. Wonder and been like, man, wish this was on Switch 2. You might see a bit of aliasing or something, because for some reason Nintendo hates using anti-aliasing on Switch. But other than that, it's going to be practically perfect kind of game. But other than like the holiday titles, I think there's tons and tons and cases of Switch games that people want like a more powerful system.
I'm gonna reset Discord.
Okay.
Yeah, it's being weird. Let me reset that real quick. Jeez. Alright, that should hopefully fix the buffering problem, hopefully. I am back. Can you hear me, Brandon?
Welcome back.
Yeah. Let me see, because Samuel was asking if, was trying to schedule a call in. Let me see if I can add him here real quick while we're doing this transition.
I'm gonna be right back.
Okay. Let's see if this works. Alright, put that back on there. Oh, this is from last week, so I gotta change that. The names are not correct. I'll just get rid of these names for now. Alright. Is anyone there? No one is there right now. I'll wait. Anyway, let me get to the chat while Brandon gets back. Alright, let's see. King Frost, thank you for that super chat. Very much appreciated. Hey, Brandon.
Yo.
How would do?
Good.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, the call should already technically include Samuel, but he wasn't available, so he'll probably just join a little bit later if he gets a chance.
Okay.
Looking through the
How
chat.
much longer are we even going to be going for?
I don't know.
Well, I guess we started a little bit later, so...
15, 20 minutes.
Okay. Sam, you better hurry up. Time's a-ticking.
Time is a-ticking.
Right. Tapping the non-existent watch on my wrist right now.
King Frost, played through Pikmin 4 demo 3 times. 3 times!
Nice.
Playing through Pikmin 1 and 2 now. Started to Harvest Moon on a wonderful remake. Great times right now. So let me ask you, is you think Pikmin's a farming simulator? Like a really good one?
People voted no in the poll last week, and I was surprised.
Yeah.
I voted yes.
I mean, I was joking when I said that, but like,
I voted yes. It's a farming simulator.
I mean, you're growing Pikmin. Like, you don't eat the Pikmin, so I mean, I guess what do you define as farming? Is farming? I mean, you don't
have to eat things to farm.
Do you? Right? Because like in video
I don't think
games,
so.
when you are basically
What about people who just sell it?
Yeah.
They don't eat themselves.
Or like in a lot of games, when you're just trying to create a lot of something, you refer to it as farming. Oh, I'm farming this. I'm farming that.
True.
So if
farming
you're
XP.
If maybe you're farming Pikmin. The whole
Yeah.
game's about farming Pikmin, and you use those Pikmin to get more Pikmin.
To farm more Pikmin.
It's a
Yes,
farming
exactly.
simulator. Exactly.
Definitive proof right here.
Yeah.
Right here first.
So, Brandon, do we have anything else to say? I think we covered the Switch rumor stuff. I don't know if there's anything more to really speak on, especially because we're running out of time.
Yeah, nothing specific that I could speculate forever, but nothing that we have concrete evidence on.
Yeah. I mean, feel free to ask interesting questions in the chat, guys. But we're gonna transition to talking a little bit about Tears of the Kingdom. So, oh, you know what, Samuel? I might have called your old account again. I think
I remember you've done that before.
I've done that many times. Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
You should just unfriend his old account.
Oh man, it's complicated.
Is it? I think you just right click.
You're probably right. Alright, let me add him now.
You're ringing him up.
I think I am. Yeah, that should hopefully work. I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
I can see it ringing, but if it's the right account or not, who knows?
I think it is. Because he messaged me on this one. So this is it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, he didn't pick up.
Oh, you there? Hey, hey, Sam, can you hear us?
There he is.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool.
So, a little bit of background noise because there's people over right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm on the deck. So,
right. Yeah, well, we were just kind of finishing up here. I'm gonna answer a couple quick questions and then we'll transition to the final topic. But feel free to give your thoughts on the other stuff too. So, and by the way, guys, Samuel is a member, right? So, like, if you're a member, if you want to schedule ahead of time, like a call-in, so you can jump in for a little bit to the part of the podcast to give your input, talk about some stuff with us. You have that option. So Super Luigi Kong. I know this is a bit off topic, but do you think a Mario OLED Switch could be released alongside Mario Wonder or Mario RPG Remake? I think I saw you say that earlier. I'm glad you actually provided it again because I didn't get a chance to answer. I'm going to guess, and I don't know, right? This is just my opinion, but I think the answer is no. And the reason why I think that is because I do think we are transitioning over to the next Nintendo system, and I don't think Nintendo wants to announce another OLED. I may be eating crow on this.
I disagree. I think they're still gonna want to sell OLEDs even when the new system comes out, and I think they were selling unique 3DSs like really late into its life as well. So
they
it makes
actually
sense.
had a new 3DS, like a new revision of 3DS that came out in 2017, I believe.
There was a new 2DS. The new 2DS. I forget.
It came out real late.
Yeah.
Was that 2017? You said?
Yeah,
was,
that's July
that's
2017.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good system.
But I think that if there is any more Switch OLEDs, probably Mario Wonder would be the last one.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand what you guys are saying, right? Like, especially because we've seen special editions and revisions come out even after next generation console releases and shortly beforehand as well. So there isn't like there's history to suggest that totally can happen, and Mario Wonder is going to be a big selling kind of game, right? So I do understand the point, and if it's just kind of Mario themed as a whole, there's 2 different big Mario games coming out in back-to-back months. It makes sense.
I think what may be more likely, though, is, or maybe they do both, but what I think is pretty likely is that there's a Switch for Black Friday bundled with Mario Wonder.
Like a Mario Wonder Switch bundle.
Yeah, so
Maybe like the red Joy-Con model or something.
Ooh, bring that back, be nice.
yeah, so like just the 300 or maybe a Switch OLED that would be bundled with it. So like a 350 just with the game for free for Black Friday. I know it's kind of, it would be a new release at that point, so it's kind of weird, but 2D Mario tends to be like, that bundled in thing. I think with the
Right.
Wii was like, yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it
Or
would
with
sell
the-
very well if they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be their way of. There's a lot of ways they could extend the Switch. Like they could do a price cut. They could.
Yeah.
Is the background noise bad?
No, I think Discord's probably clearing most of it out. I haven't noticed it.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they could do a price cut. They could do, and I think the Switch 2 is probably at first going to be introduced as part of the Switch family, kind of. Until Switch, they stop manufacturing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's going to be a price cut at the very latest when Switch 2 launches. That
think
might be the
they
time to do
will.
it.
They will wait until Switch 2 launches, I feel. Especially with just how inflation is. Like, they don't want to sell at a loss. And I feel like they haven't been able to get, like, the price for manufacturing where they want it to be to do a price drop because they still want to make a good amount of profit. I also, like, we've seen with, like, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, both of those consoles got price increases when they usually would have gotten price decreases. And Nintendo was already in the kind of plan of not dropping the price back when, years and years ago they normally would have. So I don't see them dropping it till literally like the last possible second. Like, right, either when they announce the Switch 2 or when the Switch 2 actually launches.
I could definitely see that because how things work is NVIDIA is not producing a ton of the Tegra chips, the extra ones.
Right.
So
It's
when
not a very
lot
new
of them-
manufacturing process.
Right, and they're kind of trying to phase that out. So it's probably not any cheaper than it was 3 years ago to make a Switch.
Right.
I
I could see another Switch revision coming out actually. That's just a change to the internals to increase it to a new processing node, just to make it cheaper to produce.
But how do you sell that to people?
You don't. I mean, you don't market it.
Oh, you know what's a good
what-
idea? I got it. You ready? Ready. They're gonna release a Switch. It's gonna be like a normal size Switch, but the Joy-Cons don't come off. And it's like a cheaper version.
I
Switch
guess.
Lite XL.
We already have the Switch Lite though.
Switch Lite XL.
I mean, I honestly think they probably will come
No,
out
but
with another revision, like the
with the dock.
battery.
It comes with the dock and a Pro Controller.
I mean, that'd be something. I feel like that's just like adding unnecessary SKUs to the marketplace. But I do think they'll add another revision where they don't talk about it. Like when they released I believe it was the Miracle chip that had better battery life for the system. They didn't talk about that. They did their website, but that was about it.
Yeah, that's
Like,
probably
I
how
don't
that
think they're gonna
internal
market
thing
it.
would work. It would just be a V3.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Man, I wonder how the
I don't
overclocking
see
will be on that
anything-
actually.
Yeah. I
So we
don't
see, like,
see
insane
anything
overclocking with
significant
Pikmin.
coming though, since we're almost definitely going to get Switch 2 within a year and a half. So
Mm. Yeah, because we
I mean-
usually see a new revision like every 2 years, and this would be like the year.
Well, I don't know, Joe.
Maybe we could
Normally
see
they
a
announce it
Switch-
in July, so we'll see what happens this month.
yeah, maybe there's like a Switch Lite OLED this year. I could see that happening.
Mm.
So Switch Lite's
Maybe.
200, right? So that could be 250.
Watch it be.
I just wonder if they have the
Switch
screens
not.
available for that.
The Switch not.
The not switch.
It's a switch. Yeah,
I mean, that's what the Switch Lite is. It's just the not. You can't switch it.
But it's the other side. It's the Switch not, it's just the box.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm happy they're not. You remember with the 3DS, like how many different revisions there were? Because there's a new, an XL of like everything. There's like close to like 10 different revisions,
and they each had different colors and like themed versions. Yeah,
right. There had to have been close to like 100.
So there was 3DS. There was I think 3DS XL. There was new 3DS,
Yes.
new 3DS XL, 2DS, and then new 2DS and new 2DS XL.
I think it's just new 2DS XL.
One of those might be. There might not be like a new 2.
It's like
2DS.
6 or 7.
Well, there is a new 2DS and a new 2DS XL, but I believe like the 2DS without the new moniker was just 2DS. No
Yeah,
new.
I thought there was just 2 2DSs though, like the 2DS and then the new 2DS XL. I didn't know there was just like a normal new 2DS.
No, there wasn't. Oh yeah. There was.
There's
a
one
normal
that
new
didn't have
2DS,
a normal version. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't seem like they're doing that with the Switch, so that's. If I was Nintendo, I would, jump on the popularity, but things can get saturated. I mean, they are kind of, with the special editions, you could tell they're trying to juice the Switch for all it's got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up all the models for the 3DS right now. So yeah, the 3D.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, there are 6. There's a 3DS, there's a 3DS XL, there is the 2DS, there is a new 3DS, there is a new 3DS XL, and then there is the new 2DS XL.
Yeah. Yeah, I looked up new 2DS and nothing came up. It was just new 2DS XL.
New 2DS XL, new 3DS, new 3DS XL, new 2DS, 3DS XL, 3DS. Yeah, so there you go. There was the original, the extra large version, then there's a new version, the extra large version. I don't know how I got to 6, but there's a 2DS, and then there's there's 2 of each version. So I guess it is the timing.
So have
of
you
them
guys
is
heard
weird,
about that rumor? It's very iffy. I don't even believe it, but it's out there. So there is a transportation agent or something like that at an airport.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right
before the show.
So
I have not heard
there's
this.
no credence behind that, is there?
Well, I don't know. I haven't looked into it too much. I just saw it really quickly on a video. I haven't been able to do any research on it, but supposedly.
What is it though?
Supposedly, and feel free to add to this or correct me, but supposedly, someone had a dev unit, and they were gonna go over to hand it personally to someone at another studio, so like a Nintendo executive, and a TSA agent pulled them to the side and saw the dev unit, and they said it had a controller with scrolling shoulder buttons.
It's interesting.
That's pretty much it. But apparently, this person was able to confirm that they do work for the TSA. They shared their badge. So they were the person who said this, because they would have confirmed that they work for the TSA, but we can't confirm
what they saw.
Right. And there could, I don't know. It's just I need more evidence and details before I
That's all the evidence there is. It's not very, it's just kind of like a shot in the dark.
Yeah, I mean, my take is we already pretty much know dev kits are out there. So this is basically non-news, but it's interesting, unless we could really dig into that scrolling shoulder button thing. Like, if they want to give us a new
that
controller.
Was a patent back in 2015. There was scrolling shoulder buttons. That was a consideration for the Switch.
But the other thing to consider is that we don't know if this is even a final build, right? So what if they're just showing like an early concept version of this?
Dev kits often look wildly different than the actual console, but they can also have different features that the final console doesn't end up having.
Right, a dev kit doesn't really say much about what the console looks like. Like the PS5 dev kit was
Yeah, looks like
black and it had it was weird.
alien console.
I
Yeah,
will
it
say
looked
that
like an Alienware PC or something.
having scroll wheels for the shoulder buttons might be useful for like Metroid Prime, just to like be able to cycle through your scan visors and your beams well. My problem with this though is that you still need to have the game running on Switch, so you know.
You could just have 2 separate control schemes.
You could, but I guess at that point, like, is it? What I then question is this control scheme gonna be even worth the change, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it does seem like something not a ton of developers will use, and it's kind of like changes the ergonomics of the controller. So if it's not being used, it's probably actively a worse experience than not having it. So I question if this will be the final build, if that's even real.
Yeah,
I doubt it's real.
Now, I mean, the triggers could stay the same, and then the bumpers could do that. Like, I could see that, like, because you rarely use L and R that much, right? Like, you usually use ZL and ZR. Like, L and R used a little bit less
Depends on
frequently.
the game.
It does. But I mean, if those buttons, my point is that when you click those buttons, you could just kind of click them once in a while. So if they can also, I could kind of see it, but I also don't think it's like a game changer. Like it feels like just like a minor little thing, you know. But if it's that in conjunction with a number of different things, okay. But also, I don't know what the scroll wheels are for, right? I'm assuming it's just like, okay, it allows us to kind of scroll through our menus and UI easier. But maybe there's something more to it than that.
I could see there being more. It's Nintendo.
What I want to see from Nintendo is they had a patent for joysticks that would like it's kind of like how if you ever use like a simulation steering wheel that pulls against you and like actually simulates like the resistance of the road and stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that
the
same
arcade.
Yeah, I forget the word
anymore.
for that. There's a certain word for what that technology is.
Feedback.
But it's essentially the
something.
Yeah, force feedback.
There we go.
So essentially like trigger it'd be joysticks with force feedback, which I think is a really cool idea. I mean, Sony has force feedback in their triggers, which feels really nice depending on the implementation.
That I would like.
When you're pulling the trigger of a gun in a game, it's like it stops in the middle, or if you're grabbing something, it's hard to push down.
They can change the resistance throughout the whole pole. So
yeah, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't need, but it would make it feel it would help with immersion a little bit.
Yeah, it's the kind of stuff I would like really think you would only need for like VR stuff to be like really immersed. Otherwise, it's just like a neat feature.
Right. So, and we remember those patents about the sound stuff. Let me see if I can pull that up. Because I think the Nash Weedle was talking about, which is why it's on.
I'm curious, when you said sound, for some reason the first thought that popped in my mind was HD Rumble, because I'm pretty sure it uses like math, yes, but it also uses like similar inputs to a sound for the vibrations. So like you can make a sound and try to like simulate that with the vibration. I don't remember exactly.
Also, side note, if Switch 2 has the power of the PS4, I mean, that's no small feat. Like, Red Dead Redemption 2, Last of Us Part 2, like, you got some good-looking games on there. Combined with
God of War, Spider-Man.
Right.
Alright, so
like,
I found the patent. Right, so there was this patent Nintendo was working on, and this is what the description says. If it's too much for you guys to understand, I'm sorry. I'm not sure I can understand. I haven't read it yet. But here we go. A method... Alright, I'm gonna read it again because it's weird. A method for improving the quality and accuracy of virtual 3D object placement and a virtual sound generation system for video games and other applications.
They're talking about 3D audio.
Yeah, a 3D sound spatializer provides delay compensated HRTF interpolation techniques and efficient crossfading between current and delayed HRTF filter results to provide interpolation and temporal resolution between HRT filters, mitigate artifacts caused by the use of variable HRT filters. And then there's like this image of, let me see if I can screen share real quick. Let's see, will that, nope, wrong one.
I forget what HRT means.
Math. I'm gonna stop
Sort
saying
of.
that.
Nah, go ahead.
Doesn't Tears of the Kingdom have 3D audio, or is it just better audio?
It has some sort of spatial audio.
This is
I mean, it's not
least
quite on the
like-
level of like some PS5 stuff, but
Yeah, I think
still.
it's more like simulated.
yeah.
So I guess the point here is that I guess it helps with spatial audio. Makes it better, sound better. Like this is the kind of thing that if they were to focus on this, it would make like playing like I don't know, Metroid Prime 4 really freaking cool. You know, like cuz you can hear maybe you're going down like a hallway and you hear like a drop of water like in the left corner, right? And you hear like the little ripples, or you might hear like a fan vent to like all the way down the hall to the kind of the right side, like very subtle things.
Right.
These are the kind of things that like I think some people will like overlook, but like, it's just sound. Like I think some people when they play games, it's just sound. Some people don't even play games with sound, and it bothers me.
Psychopaths.
But
Yeah.
but a lot of people don't care about those things. They just want to, whatever's more convenient for them. So I can kind of see how like this might be one of those things where it's not even really that big a deal for some, but for others it might be huge.
This was a big thing that they were talking about for PlayStation 5 even, was like their 3D audio for the headphone users. Or maybe it was 3D audio for speakers. Either way, I think it was eventually for both, but they focused on one or the other.
So I mean,
but
imagine.
3D audio was a big thing.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, it was literally the end of my sentence.
Oh. But I mean, like, imagine if the Switch 2 had haptic feedback, it had force feedback,
Right.
it had spatial audio, it had with upscaling 4K visuals. Like, would that be like, oh yeah, let's do this? Like, that would make me excited to play Metroid Prime 4, or like an updated Tears of the Kingdom on the system, because it would feel like the best way to do it. But it wouldn't be. I don't think those features would make everyone want to jump onto the next system. Like that would definitely just feel more like, okay, for those who want the most impressive experience for a Nintendo game, get this.
Right.
But that's a small audience.
Well, I mean, you don't need every single person to jump onto Switch 2 at once, right? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
There's no way, and then next year Nintendo sold 120 million Switch 2s, Like, that's not going to happen.
No.
Like, no matter... It's going to take years and years, so, they don't need every single aspect of the Switch 2 to intrigue every single gamer that exists. They just need to have a good product that probably they should try to bring in their core audience first, because I think it's very important to bring in like your core audience and get them talking about how good the product is, get the word of mouth, get, social media, getting you, essentially having us market your product for you is important.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Over time,
what they
might get
need to
better.
do for Switch 2, it has to be like a situation where if you're playing on either Switch or Switch 2, it's a W, like Xbox does. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hesitant to jump on Switch 2, and if they have like a hard cutoff, they're going to be losing sales and money. But if they have a long crossover period, like with the current gen of consoles, I think it'll work out for them.
Yeah. Plus, you make
Excuse me.
so much money in the software sales from Switch. You don't need to have Switch 2 be this absolutely giga success, even more popular than the Switch was, because you're making bank off of Switch still for a couple more years while you grow audience on the next system.
Exactly. Scarlet and Violet and Tears of the Kingdom are Nintendo's best-selling games ever, and they're coming in the twilight years of the Switch. You know.
Yeah. In the interest of time, I do want to move ahead. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to kind of talk about our Tears of the Kingdom ideas, and if you want to tie into Switch 2 with that, for sure. So what I'm thinking is we could each come up with an idea, and we'll kind of go in a circle. But before I do that, let me reset Discord really quick. So I'll give you guys like a second to think about that. This will only take like 15 seconds, but just one moment here. All right, shouldn't take long. Let me just pull it back up. Yeah, I should be able to, you guys can hear me, right? Yeah, you guys can hear me. Alright, hopefully.
Welcome back.
Yeah, that didn't take too long.
Alright.
No, okay, so. Alright, great.
Yeah, it looks like it works.
And now my CPU levels went down to the 50% range as opposed to 90.
Whee!
So, yeah, I really got to get that fixed. Yeah. Anyway. So, who wants to go first? Samuel, do you want to go first? Do you have any sort of Tears of the Kingdom DLC idea that'd be really cool? Feel free to go wild.
Does he have something?
He muted himself, so it's like almost like the opposite of yes.
Almost like a no.
Yeah.
I have something. A general
sorry,
idea. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Go.
So, what did you say?
With your Tears of the Kingdom DLC idea.
It's gonna be sky based, I believe, because of how smattered the Sky Islands kind of felt.
Hello?
Yeah. Did you catch it?
I think I just heard it'll be more about the sky.
Yeah, because the Sky Islands felt kind of smattered.
Okay.
So I do think it's going to be sky based.
Okay, so like maybe more Sky Islands.
Right, like go higher, maybe reach like the 5K limit or 6K limit. It would suffice. But I'm hoping for like a Termina kind of, just sub place. But I do have to hop off right now.
Oh, okay.
Because
no.
Yeah. I would have liked to stay on longer, but today's busy.
Fine.
No, yeah. Thanks for stopping by, Samuel. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
See ya.
Yeah. I do like the idea though of going higher. Like what if they added another sky, right? Like remember how we had these theories that maybe there'd be like several tiers, and there's three, right? There's the depths, there's the surface, there's the sky. But what if they add like the greater sky or like space or something? I don't think space necessarily, but just like a higher level. And just in terms of like mapping, but it's basically like just you go higher, right? And maybe at this point, maybe if you go high enough, everything turns into the anti-gravity mode. You know how like, there are some islands that have like the blue particles. Maybe if you go high enough, everything's like anti-gravity, but it's also colder too.
So like low atmosphere.
Exactly. Less gravity, colder. So it's more challenging up there. In some ways, and just different. And
I wonder if they could make it like because if you're in low atmosphere, you'd have low oxygen, right? But there's no oxygen meter in the game because there's no like underwater or anything. So I wonder if they would I wonder if they would do anything to compensate for that, like make your stamina drop faster or something. I wonder if there's anything interesting they could do.
If this would be a DLC quest, they could maybe give you an item for this, right? Like maybe it's like a new. So you know how like you build up your magic meter or your energy meter, your battery, and your hearts and your stamina. Maybe it's like a fourth meter. It's an maybe it is an oxygen meter.
I'd add that in there.
And what's interesting about this, it could be twofold.
Add underwater.
Exactly, it could be twofold. it could give you the more so basically you can start building your oxygen, right? Like it's a new thing to build up on,
Right.
and the more you build up, the longer you can stay in the greater sky, right? But also the longer you can swim around underwater. And so instead of doing like the basic, oh well, let's just add more maps outside, it's just kind of stacking on the already existing 3 tiers by adding 2 more
Right.
tiers, kind of. I would imagine that the greater sky and the underwater wouldn't be as expansive, but it would be kind of like significant extra stuff to do. And if there's like some, and maybe there could even be like an individual story for each one that, or some sort of story that connects the two. That would be interesting. I like the idea. I would buy it.
I think that something. I mean, if we look at where we got for Breath of the Wild, we did get a whole new like dungeon, and I feel like this DLC will be at least as big as the Breath of the Wild DLC.
I think it has
Probably
to be
much
bigger.
bigger.
Yeah, I think it has to be bigger.
So I think we'll see at least one more dungeon. I was really disappointed. Well, spoilers. But I was really disappointed in the last dungeon. I guess I'll say, not really being a dungeon. So I would like another dungeon for sure, or two.
What if, well,
dungeons.
continuing with our idea, what if in Greater Sky there's a Greater Sky dungeon, but there's also an underwater dungeon?
I'd be happy with that for sure. Give us a
And
more
maybe
sea gameplay.
yeah, maybe underwater can go beyond just like going underwater, but like it could be like, yeah, maybe they do add some islands. They, like they could do that. I would like to see a big octo. I want to see a big octo sea boss. Like that feels like a missed opportunity. It would require them to expand the map a little bit, because there are some borders of the water like you can barely go off the beach. It's like, oh, you've gone too far.
Yeah, it's real bad some places.
It depends on where. This was the south part of the beach is where it's really bad. So I would love for them to expand there. I don't know at what point are we asking for too much, right?
Yeah.
But they would be cool.
I think the biggest area that I wouldn't really personally be interested in, but I think they would probably get a lot of like sales from, would just be to like add more like Zonai devices and things. Like I think adding a ton more types of Zonai devices and just expanding the types of things that you can build, I think people would really go for that.
Yeah,
I don't have any really specific ideas off the top of my head for what they would add, though. Do you have any?
The thing is, I don't even think I've mastered what they've given us.
Right.
So it's there's really a lot that can be done with what we already have, depending on how creative you are. So I'm not even sure what they can add, because really there's a lot of options. Now, I'll say that there's a lot of things in the overworld that aren't Zonai devices that are useful, that have applications. Like, for example, there are like these giant like metal fans that you can get, or you can also get like wooden boats and stuff that you can't get. They're not Zonai devices, they're just objects, and you can save them with Ultra Hand. So you can get more things in that way. And they have uses. I've seen some people, I think they're even able to Ultra Hand, like, not Ultra Hand, auto build. They're able to save like the electric generators and the fans and put that into their creations, and it can almost become self-sustaining, which is
I've seen
insane.
people do like electricity builds, and I'm like, how do they do that?
Like that is so cool. So there's a lot of potential. I wouldn't mind that, but I think what would be neat is if they could add something to give us more reason to want to get more creative with our building of stuff. Like, I mean, I've thrown this idea out before, and I understand that it's probably not going to happen because of technical reasons, but imagine if there was multiplayer, and imagine if we could, like, duke it out with each other. But the problem with that is that it might not be feasible within the open world, but what if there's an arena?
Yeah, they could build an arena.
Yeah.
Put it in the depths or something.
Sure, like what if there is, how like they had the Trial of the Sword, where it was like levels that were harder and harder. What if there's something like that, but you could do it with multiplayer? So it's still fairly sizable rooms. They get increasingly harder with different challenges, but they're the kind of challenges that maybe you might want to tackle with different kind of like vehicles and stuff. And imagine doing that with friends or against each other, and that would be kind of cool. It's something they can do. It wouldn't necessarily have to do with you. It would be possible if it's a separate space.
I mean, I would just love like an arena where you can do kind of like a robot fighting kind of thing, where you you build your mech and your friend builds your mech, and you kind of got like a special UI so you can do it like much easier. You don't have to like run around as Link and put everything together. I would like that. Maybe they just let you run around as Link and do it. But I would like a special like menu where it's like easier to build exactly what you want, and then just fight each other in the mechs, or just have your mechs go at each other.
So
see which one wins.
You brought up Zonai devices. One Zonai device that comes up to me, like I don't know what you would call it, but something that can maybe like auto fly for you. Because there are times when I wish it could stay flying while I do other things on the vehicle or driving.
Right.
Like so, like what if, for example, you have cannons that you can attach, but the cannons just kind of like shoot, you know, and you can put them on devices where they can kind of aim and shoot. But imagine if like you could actually hold and target the cannon as well. So maybe there is like a way to like add more precision to that. While you have something that drives your vehicle for you at the same time.
Something that annoys me about the way that vehicles work, especially like flying vehicles, like fans, it's you're either kind of like full power or you're not on it. Even if you have like a steering stick, like you get on the steering stick, you like full blast. I just want to like slow down a little bit more sometimes. Or not get off the steering stick and just cut the fans, you know, and still be able to steer. And you can't. It's really annoying.
Yeah, it would be interesting if there's like a gear system, right? Like, because there are times when you have maybe multiple things you have that you don't want to use all at once. So like as we're talking about, there are some Zonai devices, right? Like there's maybe like a more precision, like a manual aim Zonai device. There could be an auto drive device, and there could be maybe like a gear shift device where like you can tell your vehicle to do certain parts at once,
or like some sort of stages, like with like a rocket ship, you know, has like different stages. Now, you can kind of do that in the game. Like
you have to be really creative.
It work. But actually putting that in as like actual ability would be really cool. I think that would be very useful. Just have like rockets that I can turn on like stage 2, and then you know how it is.
Because like you can only use one rocket at a time. It would be really cool if like you can be like, oh, okay, one rocket's done. All right, let's shift to the next one. Like that would be epic.
Right.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. And especially if like there is like a greater sky, right? Like it gives you even more. It's already really high, but imagine going even higher, right? Like that would just be super cool. I mean, like, yeah, they could take this to another level. So, like, imagine if they could get so extra that you could almost build, like, an R-Wing, right? Like, you could literally kind of, like, aim around with a crosshair and shoot things, which would be, like, that precision device I suggested, right? So, I like your idea of the Zonai device thing. It just required kind of thinking more about it. It would have to be more, like, technical pieces. Maybe basically, like, there'd be, you know how we have the control stick, right? Like, that gives us some options. But maybe there are other things that kind of give us more options with our devices.
More control.
Yeah. That would be pretty darn cool. I see it. We got a super chat from Samuel A here. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. Thanks for coming on, too. Samuel says, my bad, I had to hop off so early. I want to talk about more. A separate land for DLC would be cool, though.
I mean, in my dream world, there'd be a whole separate land, and this would be a Switch 2 exclusive DLC, and it'd be built like with the same engine, but for visuals targeting Switch 2, and it would look amazing, and it would be great, but that's not gonna happen.
There's a lot I would want to see. Yeah. I mean, I could see like a DLC island, though. You know, if they add a big, sizable island to explore. Like I think they could add like a province, you know? Like I think that's
That'd be
conceivable.
nice.
If there's like this, if they do like ocean exploration, as we kind of like talked about earlier. Yeah, there's really so much they can kind of do. I do think that it would be nice to kind of have like an epilogue quest. I don't know if it would be a separate game. Maybe it would be interesting how they would handle that, because I wouldn't want it to be outside of the open world. But at the same time, if it was an epilogue quest in a different like map, that might be kind of fun too. Like I'd actually love to have just a new map to explore.
I really want a new map to explore.
Like yeah,
Even if it's small.
I would actually prefer a smaller, more denser map with more variety. I think if I had to criticize Tears of the Kingdom, there's a lot to do. And the more you explore, the more you will find. There are unique caves, there are unique shrines, there are unique spots in the depths, right? There are cool, fun things to find in the world, but the majority of it feels very similar, you know, in the 3 different tiers.
It feels like the kind of game I have to play like 150 to 200 hours just to start, like, you know, seeing a lot of the new stuff.
Yeah. I would almost kind of like it if, like, I guess my ideal Zelda game would be, like, I like the size, but I do wish there was more variety within it per square inch. And there is a lot of variety, but it's spread out. I want to see more variety, right? I want to see more of those unique things, because like most of the world looks very similar, right? Like most of the Sky Islands look about the same. Most of the depths look about the same. Right. Not all. And a lot of
that's due to restraints on like actual hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But... like I know some people complain about the depths, saying that it's like all the same. It's not. But there's a lot of it is very similar, right?
Yeah.
But if you continue to explore, you will find some interesting stuff.
Oh, for sure.
But
the depths is my favorite part of the game.
It's very cool.
Because it actually makes me feel like I want to explore. Whereas I feel like I don't really want to explore the overworld, the surface, because like I've seen most of it. Even if it's some of it's slightly different, you know, it's different things. Even like the main towns, I thought would be a lot more different. But it's still like mostly the same, even in its differences.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so much they can do. I mean, we're really just putting out ideas. We don't know what they're gonna do. I'll throw out one other. I would like to see maybe like a combat-focused DLC, right? Maybe they can add more enemies, more boss fights, and maybe as you like get better, you can elevate your combat skills, like how in Twilight Princess you could add different like combat skills. What if they could do that, and that would make the combat more varied? That I would love, but it's just an idea.
I would like that, but it doesn't scream to me that it's very like plausible. Like it seems like you kind of need to rethink like the main I mean the attack systems or the battle system in Breath of the Wild and in Tears of the Kingdom is very varied because there's a lot of options. But even in what you're suggesting is upgrading the base like weapon variety and skills and stuff, which I think even that would kind of constitute like a pretty big rethink, which doesn't seem like a DLC kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right.
I would love it.
Yeah. Like, for
I think
example,
it's something they should have done for the base game. It doesn't feel like a DLC
like,
thing.
I miss the vertical, horizontal, and thrusting mechanics. They're still there, but it's almost like they've split them into the different weapon classes, right? Like, if you want to thrust, you use a spear, right?
Right.
If you... And then the two-handed weapons and the one-handed weapons just kind of work a little differently. Like, I would be nice, though, if they kind of mix it up a little bit. Something you don't have the parry, like you have the shield parry, but you don't have like the behind the back parry anymore, which is really cool. I don't know if there's any functional use for it.
I don't remember that one.
You know, in Wind Waker.
Oh yeah. I know in Wind Waker.
In Twilight Princess, you did it manually. You would do a side roll, and then if you get behind them, you can hit them from behind.
Yeah, I remember. I thought you were talking about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. I was like, I don't remember that.
Actually, that's still the behind the back would be possible because there are enemies that defend from the front, and you could just wait to smack a few times to knock. There's a lot of different ways to go about doing it. So
I still think an issue that I had with Breath of the Wild that they didn't really fix in this game is that like attacking enemies. It's nice that there's so many different options for what you want to do, but I guess it kind of I don't see how they can do this and go with the design choices that they have. But I want like when you would fight Zelda enemies before, like each of them was like a puzzle, and there was usually a certain item that needed to be used or was best to use against them. And I wish that would come back. Like Dodongos, you feed on bombs, and then like we were talking about the roll in Wind Waker behind the back. You got to do that to take out the Dark Nuts, take their armor off. Like there's usually, even in the older Zelda games, there was often multiple ways of killing enemies, but it was usually much easier if you use like a certain trick, which they don't really do very often in Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild. They have obviously like elements, so like if there's an ice enemy and you hit it with fire, it would insta kill it, but that's basically it. There's not a ton of different puzzles.
I don't know if I agree. I guess it kind of depends how you look at it, because like each Gleeok has a different puzzle to it, right? Like the Frost Gleeok, you can use recall to ride the icicles back up. You could just use like Keese eyeballs to like just snipe them. Like you can use Ascend to kind of get to the top of the stone taluses, for example, or even some of the bigger boss fights. You can do that stuff for. So I don't know.
I'm talking mostly about like just the generic enemies, not like overworld bosses.
Oh, because
I do agree. The overworld bosses are a little different.
The overworld bosses, I think they did a great job with. I think there's multiple ways to beat them. And there's some little tricks, but it would be cool if they added more. I'm never gonna complain about having more. In terms of common enemies, yeah, I mean you just kind of whack them.
Yeah.
You just kind of whack them. So some of them have different attack patterns, and you have to be wary of that. But that's kind of.
I mean, it also depends on how you attack them, because you very much don't always have to be aware of their attack patterns if you just attack from range.
Yeah.
You have a lot of options. I guess the only thing that they did change for normal enemies would be like armored enemies, which is pretty nice.
Yeah,
that was a nice change. But it's pretty rare that you'll come across those anyways.
Yeah, I mean you might find like one in the monster force There's usually like at least one per monster force.
Some of the harder parts of the underground they'll spawn.
The Lionels have some of them have it.
Yeah,
those are cool. Yeah, it mixes things up a little bit. It's kind of like it's almost like a Dark Nut, right? Like when you run into a Lionel that has the armor, it's kind of maybe like the closest comp to a Dark Nut. And Lionels are tougher than Dark Nuts, but it would have been interesting to fight Dark Nuts. But I think the thing about fighting Dark Nuts is that it feels like a duel, and there's not like super advanced sword fighting techniques.
Well, I mean, the Phantom Ganon fights and the final boss fight is a duel, so.
I know, I was thinking about that.
Must have thought it was good enough.
It is, but to also add Dark Nuts on top of that already there, like it might feel a little.
I do think the final boss fight for Tears of the Kingdom.
Don't spoil it, by the way. I haven't put the.
Well, just the fact that it's a duel, I think it might have been better with more like Twilight Princess-like mechanics, because that was very much more.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot you can do, but there's definitely more that could be done. I agree.
I didn't really want to use a lot of my different options though when I was fighting Ganon. Like I just want to use the Master Sword and just
Yeah, I mean, in theory,
Fight 'em, sword fight.
you could bust out a giant like, Zonai device thing, and which goes back to my
shoot 'em
idea
with
from
bomb
the,
arrows a million times.
it goes back to my beginning idea where you can build just like these giant vehicles that are catered to defeating each boss. So
Yeah.
it'd be fun. But let me read a couple things in the chat, and let's close out for the night.
Cool.
BRX are Athartic. I miss feeling like a weapon was special and had purpose rather than just a temporary loot. That's my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that is your opinion. I think there are some really cool weapons in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
I actually think they did a good job with the weapons in Tears of the Kingdom. I think it was an improvement over Breath of the Wild. So I personally don't really have a problem with that. Yeah.
I do feel like they break a little bit too quickly. It almost feels like they often break quicker than the weapons in Breath of the Wild, but it's been a second since I played Breath of the Wild, so I may just be misremembering. But I don't remember thinking that they broke way too quickly in Breath of the Wild, but I've had weapons break. Sometimes I've been annoyed about how quickly they broke. I've been like, this is like the 5th swing, and it's broken.
Yeah, I don't feel that way. The Master Sword just break often, so if you fuse anything to the Master Sword, that's what breaks. But like, if you're just
usually the thing I fuse to the Master Sword, it ends up breaking.
Yeah. But if you're fusing, I don't know. Like, I actually think, I mean, it actually lasts longer with the fusions.
I'll tell you what, I have barely made any weapons that will last against a silver enemy or 2 silver enemies. Like, at most, I won't have to switch going through a silver enemy. Usually, they'll break.
I don't have this problem. Are you? Maybe you fuse bad items. I don't know. I'm
using like some of the best items in the game.
Yeah, I press Y for the strong ones, right? And I pick one of the.
Yeah, I'm fusing like 40 power stuff, bro.
I don't know, man. I guess we just have different takes on, like, it doesn't. It feels fine. The balance is fine.
I actively avoid fighting silver enemies because I just waste my weapons on them. I don't get enough back from them for it to be worth it, unless I need a specific item to like upgrade my armor or something. I don't fight silver enemies. I actively don't enjoy their inclusion in the game. I think they have too much health and they're too tedious.
The silver enemies.
Yes.
What I will give you, I don't feel that way about the Lynels, but I'll say that the Bokoblins, the silver Bokoblins, I feel like I have my weapon, I'm just like, hit, like 12
just
times.
Beat the crap out of them. They're on the ground, just waiting for them to get up so I can beat them down again.
I mean, you can hit them while they're on the ground. I guess, like, it would.
Yeah, but you are at risk of, like, throwing them off a cliff.
You know what I miss? The final strike. The final strike move.
Yes.
I think you can technically do something like it if you're really high up.
You can do sneak strike.
Yeah, but if you just knocked him down, adding the final strike would have been nice. That's something they could do.
That would be very nice.
Actually, I know I haven't unlocked everything, but there are some secret techniques you can unlock playing the game. So there's something you can get from the Yiga for example.
Usually when I want to fight a silver enemy, I just throw down a puff shroom and then I sneak attack them because it's the only thing that's actually fun. Because I feel like they take too long to fight to where I'm not enjoying it. Like, I like it when it's quicker paced.
Dude, if they added a final strike, I think that would make such a big difference. You would complain less. You'd be like, oh, I knocked him? Alright, final strike. Move on.
That'd be super satisfying. I'd like that.
Yeah, I think it would make a big difference. I don't think that would break the mechanics of the game. That would just be a finisher. So, I think it's very doable. Verum Verby with a super chat. Thanks, Verum. Verum says, this is for Ruby. Get her a little catnip sometime. I'll do so. Thank you. I will do that. She would love it. So, Dragon Chi is asking, do you think Nintendo has locked down the chassis model for Switch 2 at this point? So chassis is like what, like the overall like physical structure of the device, like
the chassis. Yes.
Is that how you pronounce it, chassis?
I think so.
I don't know, but
That's how I pronounce it.
all right.
You
Well,
can
you may
pronounce it how
be
you
right.
want.
I'm not gonna really argue with you. I just don't. I just didn't know. So the chassis, right? Like, what would be the chassis model for the Switch 2? I think
Yeah, I mean,
Nintendo
at
probably
least
had.
pretty close.
Yeah, I think that if we are talking about maybe final dev kits getting out there, I think if if it's the final dev kit, then yes. If it's just a dev kit, then almost. I want to say yes. I don't know.
I mean, they'll probably start manufacturing them early next year, I'd imagine. So
There
gotta
are
be at least
some rumors
close.
suggesting manufacturing is already starting. So
I mean, if they want to have a big
Yeah.
launch,
yeah, but they're rumors, so it's kind of hard to confirm or deny.
they've been saying they're buying materials like ahead of time for Switch, not specifically for Switch 2, but I imagine also for Switch 2. So I mean, if they want to start production ahead of when they might usually do so, just have stock, I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess that we are Nintendo if they're not completely locked down, they are close to the final model. I remember when Nintendo revealed the Nintendo DS at E3 2004, and then when it released Holiday 2004, it looked pretty different. It was interesting. If I remember correctly, I think the DS had like where the speakers were there were like circular indents, and I want to say there was like more black bezel in the middle. I gotta look this up though to confirm.
I mean, I'm not even very familiar with the actually released original DS model.
Really? Well, it's cool. It looks
No, because I had a light. I mean, I've seen it. I know what it looks like. I'm just not like
it looks like a
intimately
computer.
familiar with it.
It's so neat. Oh, I think I'm right.
I think it looks ugly.
Yeah, okay, well, you should take that back.
I think it looks ugly and uncomfortable, and I'm glad they changed it.
I don't know. This is actually a good image comparing how the two look. Here, I'll show you guys on stream. Well, I just wanted to open up this image. Open image in new tab. Just make it a little bigger. So this was the original version they showed off at E3 2004, and you see how much it changed 6 months later. Like that is significant changes. It's a huge difference. Kind of blows my mind. How different
yeah,
it
I've
looks.
seen this image before actually.
It is crazy how different this is.
Yeah, that's very different.
And I was correct, right? Like I said, there was like a black bezel in the middle,
Yeah,
and there was circular indents. I don't see
like half circles, but yeah.
Yeah. This is what I had in mind. They also had it here too. I actually like the color of the buttons.
Yeah, it's less ugly than I remember it looking, but it's still not great. It's very fat. Maybe it'd be more ergonomical.
The original DS is fat.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. Like the actually released version.
Oh. Wait, so which one are you saying is ugly? The prototype or the okay? Yeah, I mean, they definitely improved on it with the DS Lite. I don't deny that. Not at all.
They're not horribly ugly. They're just not super clean looking. I don't know.
Oh, they definitely improved on it.
It's a little chunky with the DS there on the right.
Yeah, they were chunky.
Oh,
The D-pad was almost like a little abrasive. The buttons were like a little abrasive on the original DS. Excuse me.
Screen's also much brighter on the DS Lite. Part of the reason they called it that.
Was it? I thought it was just lighter.
It was brighter, and you could change the brightness too.
I remember that. I remember the brightness you could change. That is true. You're right. It's coming back to me now.
So come back. I love the DS. So the only era I've actually played handhelds consistently.
Yeah, I play the DS a lot. King Frost. I can kill a silver liner with 2 fused weapons, but you get rewarded with 2 top tier horns. Man, just bead better weapons. Yeah, I always find that when I kill a Lionel, whatever I lose to kill it, I get more back. So, like that's my thing. Like,
yeah.
I'm never
And
concerned.
it also depends on like what you have on you at the time. Because I might have like 1 weapon or 2 weapons that are good enough. But if I go up against a silver Lionel with something that's like 30 or 40, I'm essentially like just wasting the weapon. Because I'm not gonna hurt it enough to make the weapon worth it. It's just gonna break. But yeah, if you have good enough weapons, the problem is like you have to have like really high level weapons, which I don't always have on me, or like usually I'm just looking for like base weapons that are good.
I hear you.
The thing is, I get a good one, and then I get, something that's like 80, 90 power, and it breaks in like 5 hits, and I'm like, well, what was the point? 5 hits is a bit of an exaggeration. It's more like a couple of enemies. But I can't even get through a whole bokoblin camp of like blue and black bokoblins without losing a weapon. Like I can't get 1 fight without losing a weapon. I just want to get through 1 battle and keep the weapon I have.
I think this is just something where we just have a difference of opinion. It doesn't bother me. I run out of every time I go into a fight, as I said earlier, I feel like I come out with more than I lost, and I just don't care. Like it doesn't bother me. I don't notice it as often. It doesn't feel like there. I think it's a good balance.
It's not a huge deal. It's not like a huge problem.
Right. I mean, and I'm not even. I'm not. Listen. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it doesn't bother me.
You know what else? You know what would make it a lot easier to deal with is if they showed you what the health of your weapon is. Like, what is my durability at? How long until it breaks? Like, why can't you show me this information? Also, if there was just an easy way to repair weapons,
how
by spending like rupees and materials.
It's interesting. With the champion's tunic, you can see the life bar, right? Like the actual number.
Yeah. That used to just be a feature actually before back I think E3 2016. You used to be able to, click in the right stick to zoom, but then you would scan enemies, and then once they were scanned, then you could see their health.
So they took that out when Breath of the Wild came out.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, I mean, like, imagine if the champion's tunic or another item just told you like the actual HP number.
I mean, that would be nice. It'd be better than nothing, but I would really like that as just a base feature in the game.
In the menu, maybe.
Yeah, just like a normal UI thing.
Yeah, I hear it.
It's
I hear
such
what
a
you're saying.
big focus, like.
Yeah, that's not the part that bothers me. I do agree with you on just the fighting the silver bokoblins. It just kind of feels like they're just damage sponges, and you're doing the same combo repeatedly, which is why I think the kill strike or the final strike, like bringing that back for when you knock down enemies, would make such a big difference. It would speed up combat, and it would just offer just a little bit more variety.
Right. Yeah, and the things I'm talking about now, just to clarify for people in the chat, like, I'm not saying that these are like super big deals. These are mostly nitpicks.
Saying they are huge deals, guys.
I'm saying this is the reason Tears of the Kingdom sucks.
What's your Twitter? I want everyone to go like hate on you.
Just go harass me. Hashtag Brandon is canceled. Oh no. I mean, I have legitimate issues with the game that are personal issues that are much, much bigger than this. These are just
at Brandon_ALX_117 on Twitter. You can find him and
you can harass him.
Ruin his day. Don't do that.
Just absolutely destroy me.
Don't do
Twitter.
that. I only say that because I feel like we're in good company here.
I like the engagement. I don't. I get more Twitter engagement than I ever did in a long time, man.
Oh well, now that Elon Musk is limiting those Twitter interactions.
Yeah, you're not supposed to review more than 600 tweets if you're unverified.
Just for the record,
6,000 if you're paying.
Just for the record, I never noticed any sort of limitations, so I guess I
No,
thought.
me either. I'm unverified. I don't pay for that crap.
Yeah.
I've not gotten limited.
I think, I thought I used Twitter a lot, but I guess there are people
I
who use
thought so,
Twitter
too.
a lot more than I do.
I guess I'm just not as chronically online as I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, if I go to like my phone usage, it's probably like 3 or 4 hours a day.
Well, I guess it depends, like, because if there are people who like are actively engaging in conversations in different Twitter threads every day, then I could see that, because I don't engage in conversations in threads every day on Twitter. It's a very occasional thing for me.
Apparently, my daily average has gone. Oh, this is just for today. That isn't. It was 50 minutes. I'm like, there's no way. On average, I only spend 50 minutes on my phone.
All right, so
it's the wrong week.
I got a super chat here from Taker610. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. Taker says, Light announced July 10th, OLED July 6th. Just saying. Right, so in 2019, the Light was announced in the beginning of the month, and then the OLED. So, like, it is interesting, right? It would, if something's gonna happen, it would be this week, right? Like, if they're gonna announce another revision or something, it would be this week. So we'll see.
We shall see.
Yeah,
we shall see that nothing will come to pass. That's my prediction.
I'm not really expecting anything this week, no. But
no.
I'd love to be wrong. I'd love
Dude,
for Nintendo to announce the Metroid Prime 4 Direct.
I'd be so happy.
Switch 2
and my brother who just bought a Switch OLED last week would be so mad.
I'm gonna throw it at
because
the
I
wall.
told him I didn't think a new system was gonna come out till next holiday. By that I mean holiday 2024.
Right.
So he's gonna be like, "You led me astray." I'd be like, "But the trade-in value."
Yeah, it'll be fine. Samuel A., how do you feel about Pikmin 4 being similar to Pikmin 2 with the treasure? I haven't played enough.
I like it.
Pikmin 4, so
I found a Game Boy SP, which made me very happy.
Oh, is that what he's getting at? I mean, I think finding stuff we recognize is really cool. So.
Well, it's kind of like that instead of, because in Pikmin 2, like, you're trying to get a certain amount of money to pay back a debt, right? And treasures are worth money. But in this one, treasures are worth glimerium or something, which is like an energy source for your ship to get off the planet. So you still get like almost like a currency from it, because it's still in like numbers. You rack up points from how much each treasure is worth, but they're not worth money. It's worth like glimmer stuff.
See. So Pikmin 1, it was parts. Pikmin 2, it's treasure. Pikmin 3, it's fruit. Pikmin 4, it's treasure.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it now.
I like the treasures though. That's my favorite thing about Pikmin 2.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of sucks about the HD versions. They took out all the branding.
Oh, well, I get it. It's kind of.
I get why,
though,
but it's unfortunate because it does kind of take away a huge part of the identity of that game, which is unfortunate. But the gameplay's still the same, of course.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. So it's definitely like a nice little touch. SpongeBob SquarePants. South Park is bad for preschoolers.
What? Of course it is. What are you talking about?
I guess so.
It's like saying Game of Thrones is an inappropriate TV show for kids. Like.
Yeah. I do kind of agree with Jesse Beholder here. Jesse Beholder says, I just want a master mode and harder challenges. At this point, I kill all Linos at the Colosseum without using healing items. I do want some other kind of difficulty, but I think it would be interesting if they could find a way to mix things up with more than just, you need to hit them. They just have bigger health bars now.
I felt like the power scaling throughout the game was a lot better. Like the difficulty, in Breath of the Wild, after like 20 to 40 hours, I was pretty much OP and could just like take on anything I wanted. But I still don't feel like I'm quite to that point yet, even after like 100 hours. in the game in Tears of the Kingdom.
So the way it is for me in Tears of the Kingdom is that I just have. Hold on, this. Discord's crashing again. I'm trying to fix it. Trying to fix it before it goes nuts. I'm trying to fix it.
It's always so strange. I never notice anything on my end.
No, yeah. I fixed it, but yeah.
It's always on the stream's end that there's issues. Like, you're always coming through crystal clear for me.
Yeah. And I noticed it once it's too late. I noticed it once, like, no one can watch. So, yeah. Oh, well. I am never paying for Discord Nitro again. Technically, I'm on the free trial, so I don't know.
Never gonna pay for it ever then.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it. All it has done is forced me to just it ruins the streams. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I did hear that Pikmin 4 got leaked. King Frost. I have zero interest in seeing the leaks. You know?
I mean, yeah, it's
none.
Pikmin 4. It's not really like a heavy spoiler game, right? Like,
no, yeah, it's definitely not like a Tears of the Kingdom thing. And even then, like, I didn't want to see the leaks. Really, not really. So,
yeah.
Like, yeah. But
I like to experience things in the game themselves.
we're already close to release, right? We're only a couple weeks away, so
yeah, we're only 18 days.
Yeah, but I think we're pretty much at the end of the show. Is there anything else you want to cover before we call it a night?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for sticking around, even though we had a lot of technical difficulties. Again, I know, I apologize. I'm going to cancel Discord Nitro tonight, right now, because this is ridiculous. But we'll see you soon, and hopefully with less problems. But that's all. See you later. Maybe there will be a revision announced this week, but I doubt it. Bye.
Bye, guys.